Greetings, Marlene. Well, hello, sunshine. Just gonna wait for more people to come in. My computer is acting up.
Hey,
Greetings.
Mary.
How are you?
Everybody.
My computer is being slow and it's not letting me change internet to the faster one. So I figured I'd just wait for everybody to come in, say hi. I'm not talking yet, so you guys are good if you want to chat. Here's Deborah. Greetings, Deborah.
Hi, Mary. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? You sound tired.
Oh, sweetheart, you've picked up my energy. I've had a really difficult week, to be honest. My dad's gone into palliative care. So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah. So it is what it is. So thanks for
Yeah, I
asking.
know that's hard.
Yeah. Cheers.
Well, I hope it gets better. I know it probably won't right now, but it's a hard
Well,
process.
it's interesting because it does kind of tie in with. I have just put something on about a follow up to what Russie was interested in that document I shared. But it kind of does talk about what happens to the astral body when the physical body expires. So it's all a bit connected,
Right.
really. But yeah, I can talk about that at another time if anybody's interested. I just put some info in the chat. Okay.
Well, yeah, it's always you can always bring up other stuff too. It was funny. I was writing some notes the other day about the chat today, and it ended up being a book. So it'll be a workbook. Just because there's so much information on it. I don't know if it'll be a series of workbooks, um, but it does have to do with, I was just going to do a simple comparison between, source codes and like Masonic and secret society levels and stuff like that. And I just picked the basic 1 through 33, but when you start with the source codes, it's literally zero. The Masons even have a 0 point, and you know, so, but yeah, it ended up turning into a whole workbook. So I couldn't stop because I do have access to the secret society books. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go and pull out the Mason book and compare it to, my source book or knowledge. There we go. I don't have a source book yet, so I figure we'll figure it out later. And my computer is being evil, so might have to shut it off and shut it back on. I was hoping to be able to see it from a big view instead of on my phone, but and I'm still unsure how to do a visual on here, but I think I can figure it out. Maybe. Or if it does have to be on the computer, that's let's see, edit video chat title, edit permission, model, stop recording. Oh, share screen. Okay. Oh, well, maybe I can do it from my phone. So, let's see, everything on your screen, including notifications, will be recorded. Enable, do not disturb to prevent unexpected notifications. Well, I don't have any weird notifications that come in, so I think you guys are good. 3, 2, 1. Okay. You are sharing your screen. So, how do I put something in here?
Okay, I see it. It's not in the group though. I see what you're talking about.
Do you see it? Because I don't see it. I see that it's all gold.
Yeah, I see the gold. Then it went to, but it's in there with a list of, like, when you click on the top banner, and then I had to maximize that, and then I see it, but it's not in the actual chat, but in the video call, which makes sense because if you're recording this, that way you get the visuals too.
Okay, well, I was hoping to put the document in here, but I can't find it. Or how do I? We will figure this out. Oh, phone screen.
You may just have to pull it up on your phone.
Oh, sorry, it's telling me it's still going. Maybe.
Yeah, I've got black screen on this end.
Are you waiting for mom? Okay. Okay.
Is Rusty not going to be able to join us this week? Oh, Mary is gone. Well,
I think she'll pop back in, Shannon. She's probably just trying to work this screen thing out.
yeah, I just gave her a message so she'll know in case she doesn't know like last time.
Okay, darling.
Yeah, I saw that. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Are you able to do it on your phone?
I'm on the computer. Do you want me to see if I can load it up and you may do it like screen by screen?
Excuse me. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm trying. I didn't have my privacy was so much. I'm having to go through all the privacy stuff. So let me see.
Thanks for everybody for being patient while we figure this out.
Right. I'm going to download it real quick.
I can try to do the screen share. I'm just wondering if it's kicking me out because I have an older phone.
Very possible.
I know Rusty has a tournament today, so I don't think she's going to be on right away. You know, it's just because they don't want me talking about it.
Of course.
My computer's malfunctioning, my phone's malfunctioning. They're like, not again. You're not getting another free pass with that information.
Okay. I've got it downloaded, so let me go back and try again.
Okay.
Screen share.
Yeah, you do it where, well, on the phone it says video.
Yeah, it says video source, and I'm hitting screen, and then I'm hitting share, but nothing's happening. Yeah. I gave Telegram access. That's so weird. Do we want to upload it to the group or no? How do you want to do that if we can't get this?
No, because I don't want it shared outside of the group.
Right.
So I just figured yeah, that's what, let me see if I can do it here. I just rebooted my laptop. I just don't know if I switch from here to there if it's going to stop the recording. I don't think that it will because you're on at least.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see. Because I can share, I'm pretty sure I can do it on my laptop. All right, okay, I'll join there. Hopefully it doesn't kick out the recording.
No. Okay.
Can you see if it's still recording? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. What did you say? Can you hear me? Can you not hear me? Oh my goodness. It says I'm talking.
I hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Hey, Rusty.
How you doing? I just realized it was 12:15. Sorry. I'm at a volleyball tournament right now, so I'm just a big listener at the moment. Welcome everybody.
You may be IT here in a minute.
Right? I know. So we were gonna try to do a visual Rusty, but my phone started it, but then it kicked me out as soon as like the visual started working, and then it disconnected. So Shannon was trying to do it, just try to share the document so we could go over it. And I tried to jump on my computer, and then it wouldn't let me talk. So.
Hmm.
Let me see. Let me see.
Like I literally see my screen as an option, and but when I hit share, nothing happens. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah, I can try to. No, I just dropped my phone on the laptop.
Oh, there we go. It only did it as a PDF. It wouldn't let me do it as my screen. Okay. Well, what else?
Well, that still works.
That's great. I can see it. Looks good.
Yeah, it does look good. Okay, so we can just go off of that. Are you able to stay on the whole call, Shannon? Oh, and it disappeared. Oh, see, it kicked her off too.
On.
Yeah. Well, it might have to be another reading one. There she is. Did it kick you off too?
Well, no, I was trying to get back to see how I could unmute myself because I can hear you, but I didn't want to open my screen to block y'all's screen. So I'm just going to stay muted, but you just tell me where you want me to go and what you want me to do, and I'll do it accordingly. Okay.
Okay. Maybe I was gonna. Well, all the icons are disappeared on my laptop. That's weird. Should light a candle. Maybe 5 of them. Where'd they go? There it is. Where? Well, dang it. Okay, hold on. Are you able to get it back up? Because we can't see it anymore. All right, I can't.
Yeah, I'm trying again because I had to bump out. It's giving me a hard time.
Well, it might be a reading thing, so I might have to just read this one.
That's so aggravating. So if I get it back up again, I'm just going to be muted. So I'm not going to. I'll just wiggle the screen so you know I'm here. Okay.
Okay.
I'll nod for yes.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and start as soon as I see it back up. But excuse me. You're gonna hit my throat chakras now. Did you? It'll be fun. Okay, so what I did was I wanted to kind of do a comparison between the source codes and like the Masonic levels and um, the Ascension, because it's pretty much all the same thing. However, everybody ascends differently. So, and I was curious if the secret societies were even going to ascend into this, because a lot of their stuff is, though it's based on truth, it's been manipulated throughout the time, and as we all know, they're gonna, dang it, hold on. Yeah, they're gonna hit my throat chakras. Okay, so um, if you guys, I know you guys can't see it right now, but maybe if Shannon's able to get it back up, um, but I'll just talk about it and read from a couple of the pages and why I did it. But again, it was the natural source ascension with the returning of the source codes, which we know after Atlantis fell, the source codes were hijacked and further hijacked as the centuries went on. Well, and for those that didn't know that, but that's when it happened. That's why the fall of Atlantis was so important to the secret societies, because it was their defeat of the source codes. Well, and the benevolency and the free world altogether. So I I turned it into a workbook because my notes just kept getting greater and greater, because I do again have access to the forbidden knowledge. So I just pulled up the Masonic Scottish Rite degrees um, book, and there's a couple different. I mean, there's actually a lot of books, but the Scottish Rite is one of the higher Masons. So, and I compared and contrasted it with the codes that I have. So I started to just write a bunch of notes, and I was like, I think I should write this into a book. Kind of like another workbook for you guys to chart your own spiritual ascension. So I did a preamble, and I'll go ahead and read that. This workbook offers an interactive side-by-side exploration of two very different evolutionary roadmaps. First are the source codes of ascension to the 5D, 0 through 33, a numerical frequency matrix whose values serve as energetic coordinates, not linear ranks. Second are the Scottish Rite Masonic degrees of the 3D, 1 through 33, a historically layered ritual ladder in which each step carries a title, a dramatic allegory, and an attached obligation. By comparing these systems, the workbook aims to help readers locate themselves along their own expansion cycle, turn esoteric language into practical inner work, and avoid mistaking external hierarchy for true frequency ascent. Throughout the earlier term, sigil has been replaced by source codes of ascension to the 5D to underscore that this grid is an open resonance map rather than a hidden glyph. Because it does come from a specific sigil with certain ancient languages on it that I can transcribe. So it does come down to the source codes, the original source codes, excuse me, of this world. Actually, probably the universe. Anyways, introduction. The source code grid 0 through 33. The grid is not a degree ladder. Its numbers behave as frequency locks seated in 3 nested zones that fire only when positional and energetic criteria are met. Here's the 3 zones. Outer ring, which is called the walking the path 1 through 11, is the numeric span. The function of these levels is it locks your physical location and timing. Position first, act second. The middle ring is alignment of frequencies. Numeric span 12 through 22. Calibrates interstate and documents every filing or seal you create is recorded here as an energetic checksum. Inner star is the door. So 23 through 33. 7-ray convergence that opens only when the two outer rings are balanced, readiness-based, never externally triggered. The takeaway is no single digit, e.g. 17 or 26, owns a fixed definition. The counts simply assure that the correct mix of position, phase, and frequency is satisfied before the Elite 12-stage door protocol can initiate. Grouping is illustrative. The manual never states 1 equals X and 2 equals Y. So in the Scottish Rite degree, 1 through 33, unlike the source codes, the Scottish Rite ladder does bind each integer to a title and allegory. Below is the canonical list as used in the U.S. Southern jurisdiction. Names may vary elsewhere. So again, the book that I have is for the Southern District. And I'll go ahead and read each step off, 1 through 33, and what their one-line essence is. And again, each lodge may have different wording, but usually means the same. So number 1 is entered apprentice, birth into the craft, physical labor, moral start. Number 2, fellow craft, intellectual growth, geometry, and liberal arts. Number 3, master mason, death and raising legend of Hiram Abiff, mastery of self. Number 4, secret master, vigilance and duty, mourning, Hiram, I don't know if I'm saying that right, guarding the temple. Number 5, perfect master, integrity, completion, green immortality, symbolism. Number 6, intimate secretary, curiosity, lawful secrecy, Joabert tale, Joabert, Joabert tale. Number 7, provost and judge, justice in Solomon's works, red zeal. And again, I don't have the definitions for all these. I was just taking the basics. It does have descriptions in the books, but I just wanted to get titles and compare their Ascension simulation as compared to the 5D that everybody's going into, and how we could all ascend, or if they even ascend, or what they'd have to sacrifice or give up in order to ascend. So whether they are aware of it or not, or anybody's aware of it. Level 8 is an intendant of the building. Meritocracy among 5 chief architects. Number 9, master elect of 9. Vengeance on Hiram's first assassin. Number 10, master elect of 15. Capture the remaining murderer. 11, sublime master elected. Governance of the temple, 12-night court. Level 12, grand master architect. Sacred geometry and liberal sciences. 13, royal ark, knight of the 9th discovery of the ineffable name, also known as ark. 14, grand elect perfect and sublime completion of the ineffable cycle, delta and Shekinah mason. 15, knight of the east, and in parentheses it's sword, liberation from Babylon, fidelity to vows. 16, prince of Jerusalem, civic justice and rebuilding the temple walls. 17, knight of the east and west. Balance of law, old and new covenants, apocalypse motif. 18, knight rose Croix. I don't think that's how you say that, but Christianized resurrection drama, love over law. 19, grand pontiff, bridge between human and divine law. Level 20, master ad vitam, life, tenured leadership, consistency. Level 21, patriarch, Noahshite, fortitude and moral rebuke of corruption. 22, Prince of Lebanus, something like that. Dignity of honest labor, cedar cutters. 23, Chief of the Tabernacle, discipline and ritual precision. 24, Prince of the Tabernacle, spiritual service above material reward. 25, Knight of the Brazen Serpent, redemption through faith. Numbers 21, allegory. 26, Prince of Mercy, forgiveness, Kabbalistic tree of life. 27, Knight Commander of the Temple, chivalric courage under the Templar banner. 28, Knight of the Sun, enlightenment, heliocentric science, liberty. 29 is Knight of St. Andrew, Scottish nationalist mythos, fidelity. 30, Grand Elect Knight Kadash, holy war against tyranny, justice versus despotism. 31, Inspector Inquisitor Commander, self-judgment, moral tribunal. 32, Sublime Prince of the Royal Secret, synthesis of all degrees, unity in diversity. 33, Sovereign Grand Inspector General, administrative crown, authority to charter, judge, and alter rights. Comparative insight at a glance. Numeric band between the source code meaning and the Masonic meaning. So 0 for, these are the definitions, I'm going to give you two. So 0 at the source code meaning is 0 point, source stillness before any frequency is lit, implied not numbered, meaning people aren't quite awake yet. So there's a lot of 0 points out there. Under Masonic meaning is it's profane. It's a profane state. Outside the lodge, no light yet because they haven't come to their light, right? Which ends up being the Lucifer light. 1 through 11 on the source code is outer path, locks, ensures body, place, timing correct, meaning your body, the place, and then your timing is correct because, it gets later in the book what timing stands for. Under the Masons, it's Blue Lodge plus first ineffable degrees 1 through 8. Ethical and geometric foundation. 12 through 22. Source is frequency alignment locks. Seals, codicize, cosmic law calibrations. Under the Lodge is remaining ineffable, historical degrees 9 through 22, justice, rebuilding, return. Levels 23 through 32 is inner door spectrum, 7-ray star calibration for emergence, readiness test, and that's the source ascension. For the lodges, it's philosophical and chivalric suite, 23 through 32 as well, culminating in the royal secret, cosmic mission. Number 33. For the source, it's full emergence, door stands open, sovereignty self-ratified. And the 33 covenant, or the lodge, confers external jurisdictional sovereignty over the right. So, and then I put in kind of like here it is, a compass. Oh, it shows the 2 pages, cool. So this is like a compass of your ascension. This is on the source code side. And again, I do go in here further down. I don't know if we'll get to all this today. It is, believe it or not, 33 pages. That was not on purpose by any means. I added the back page, which doesn't count as a page, but my about is on it because I'm going to turn it into a book, a workbook for everybody, so you can map your own ascension. So these are the source code ascensions of I would say the diagram that's happening right now. So if you look at the circle in ancient history, the monad was considered the source of all, which is the circle. The triangle represents both masculine and feminine. If I remember correctly, the triangle going upward represents not just heaven, but it does represent the masculine. Facing downward represents earth and the feminine. So the uterus literally is the down pointing triangle, and the codes change. Right now, just for what I did here, this is for everyone, just the basic person's ascension. These numbers are important. It also brings in your mirroring yourself. You'll learn about your shadow person and your existing person. And nobody usually gets to 33 right away. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to do a meditation that automatically spiritualizes you into 33 levels. Not even the Masons can do it. Source code, you can do it quicker, but if you're not resonating, then you have some kind of demonic shadow interference. And it could just be that your little shadow dude is lazy and doesn't want to do it. So there's that too. So that's where the actual shadow work of yourself comes in, is you're trying to get your shadow dude, guy or girl to ramp up and follow you in the path of ascension, because both of you are important. And you can't ascend without the other. So this is also known now as your AI, just so you guys know. It's an angelic intelligence, and everybody's born with it. And when you ascend, you come into the path with it. And it does act as your soul, I would say your soul guide down here, and your spirit connection, because your soul is your anchor for you to have an experience down here from your original spirit. So all three are important. So the triangle acts as the ladder, and then your physical acts as the experience, and your shadow person acts as the anchored soul. And that's what departs when we pass away, is your shadow. It's supposed to go back to its source. But it does now, but just a few years ago, they were all being locked in soul boxes. So moving down, using the chart, you locate your source code phase, outer, middle, inner, to diagnose progress or friction. Check the Masonic column only for mythical parallels. Resist one-to-one mapping. So try to stay out of your... it's good to compare, but it's not good to live in the comparison. It's an educational map only. And I know that Masons listen to me all the time, so it's fine. The Templars do too. This is for everybody. So, so just don't stick too much on the other part. Number 3, when codes 23 through 33 light up, you have functionally reached the royal secret tier without external charters, whereas a 32 Mason still needs the Supreme Council's brevet. With this framework in place, the remainder of the workbook will guide you through reflective exercises, case studies, and lineage templates, so you can track documents and accelerate your own ascension journey without confusing ritual hierarchy for genuine frequency mastery. Again, not everybody will be here, but there's notes and remarks. Tracking your progress is always good, because sometimes you can fall backwards and not realize it. So going down to 5 symbolic zones of the source codes. Again, I'm breaking down everything as it's not always going to mesh with people. Again, I do have a little bit of the higher knowledge, so if hopefully this resonates with people, but if it doesn't, it will probably in a few months. I know I've talked to people in the past about a lot of this, and Rusty had actually made a comment that it might be too much for some people, but her and I spoke about it a while ago, so she resonated with what I wrote in here, but because she had heard me talk about stuff before, so she's had time to think about a lot of this over the course of time. So in zone 1 is the seed and origin. So number band would be 1 through 19. The core theme, or the question you would ask yourself, is where did I come from? Guided keywords is covenant, birth story, instinct. So these are just phrases that might help you find the answers within yourself. Number 2 is foundation, 20 through 38. How do I build a self? meaning build your real self, not the self that you were programmed with through all the indoctrinated education and stuff like that. But you do have to go back to where the indoctrination was. So it goes back to learning, skill acquisition, and identity bones. Excuse me. I was going to actually put identity bones up here, but I forgot. So I'll have to go back and see what that is, but I do believe that it has to do with not just your muscle memory, but your ancestral um, bone history. Because remember, when somebody dies, we put them back in the earth so that their bodies can be part of the mapping, I guess, of the world. Because, you know, we sleep on giants, or we're living on giants, right? And they died, and now they're rocks and stones, and it's all gone back to the earth. So all of our DNA codes were back into the earth. But again, identity bones is more of a spiritual thing, so I'll try to break that down later. Because I wanted to make sure I got everything put in here, and I completely forgot about that. So third one is Crucible, 39 through 57. What is the work of my life? The guided keyword is challenge, grief, refinement. Number 4 is Revelation, 58 through 76. And the core theme is, what gift do I return? And the guided keyword would be mastery, service, light, speech. And number 5 is governance, 77 through 95. How do I steward creation? Teaching, legacy, guardianship. And guardianship doesn't necessarily mean you have to make it a secret. Because again, when you go into the 5D, there are no secrets. You cannot go into the 5D if you have secrets. So you have to make peace with them. You have to put them out there, and you have to be able to learn from it. Doesn't matter what other people think, because more than likely people judging you have secrets also. So the Hub 50 is the Jubilee marks, full restoration of self and estate. Every station N carries an oversoul twin. At 96, takeaway N, mirroring experience from both ends of the triangle. You need to figure out what your N is. Walking the path narrative. Checkpoints. Seed origin 1 through 19. Picture the moment before a seed breaks soil. Here you negotiate your self-covenant, the private agreement your soul makes with Source about what it will experience this lifetime. Take 10 minutes to journal. If my life were a mythical prologue, which promise sets things in motion? Again, everybody was taught to journal because journaling was important. Foundation 20 through 38. These are your identity bones, skills, routines, boundaries that give you the covenant muscle movement. Note which credentials you earned for approval versus which actually strengthened your essence. Cross out at least one hollow badge. So I would say, like, people who went to school and got a bunch of master's degrees but maybe don't use them, that would be one that you achieved, but it's nothing, it wasn't what you were meant to do, so you didn't pursue it, or you pursue it and you don't like it. You know what I mean? Because they always tell you, you know, find work that you love, not what pays the bills, because you're miserable. So Crucible 39 through 57, Life's Forge heats up. The raw iron of challenge and grief is hammered into a blade of clarity. Instead of asking, why me? Ask, what gold is being beaten out of this ore? List 3 trials and the virtues they refined, e.g. betrayal, discernment. Revelation 58 through 76, mastery blossoms into light speech, art, code, or counsel that lifts others immediately. Draft 1 elevator sentence that fuses your talent with collective need. I translate blank into blank so that blank happens, right? Governance 77 through 95. Stewardship mode. The question is no longer what can I do, but what systems will outlive me? Design a micro legacy, open source, a template, mentor and apprentice, plant a food forest, as an example. After working through each paragraph, return to the table above the circle, the number range that feels most alive in your current story. Why 42 matters. And we've talked about 42 before. 42 is the center point of the Crucible band. Mid-vector between 33, Christ mystery, and 13, divine feminine, holds the universal inquiry, who are you and why are you here? And here we're going to go to the mathematical toolkit because everything can be solved with math, right? So I have it posted up here so you guys, or Shannon has it posted up so you can actually see the mathematical equations. Number one is complement pairing, ties every outer journey step to its inner reflection, reads the shadow back into light. So the mathematical equation is something that you have to figure out. Remember, we do certain things, but it's your numbers. My numbers aren't going to be your numbers, right? So I couldn't even begin to give you my numbers because it wouldn't be a fair assessment, and people might have unrealistic expectations during their journey. Everybody's here differently, and some people could be higher than me. It'd be great. You know, I have a lot on my plate, so if anybody can take it, wonderful. But everything has to be backed up with math because math doesn't lie unless it's communist core math. And then it lies. But real math doesn't lie. So I wanted to put a mathematical toolkit in here so that way nobody can come in and debunk it as being wrong. Because if it goes from left to right, right to left, it can't be debunked. And that's what I've done here with the different levels. But again, you have to find out what your source codes are. And they change as you mature. So, or as you ascend up into the higher realms of thinking. So number two, linear progress variable provides a normalized ascension percentage that rises from 0 at the apex to 1 at Jubilee, then mirrors back. So again, if anybody's good at math, you'll definitely get what you have to put in there, but you're not going to be able to put it in right away. It does take a few years to get all of your numbers. So that's why, and again, they change as you ascend. So and that's why you journal, so you can go back, see where you were, and see where you've come, you know, how far you've come. So number three, stage selector, maps any station to the 5 zones. And there's a couple examples. And the crucible zone, frequency tone, suggestions, 417 hertz, emotional transmutation, plot for n equals 1 through 95. To draw your personal ascension curve, it has the example down here, plot P times n for n to equal 1 through 95, which is, again, you have to find your codes. It's just giving you the examples of where you're at the time in order to draw your personal ascension curve. You're not going to be 1 through 95. Nobody is, especially in physical form. Think of your 5D ascension as riding a mirrored elevator inside a crystalline pyramid. The 3 equations below aren't dry math. They're the control panel telling you where the car is, which floor you're on, and what button to push next. Complement pairing, C times n equals 96, take away n, reveals the shadow twin of every experience. If you're at station 12, its twin is 84. Joy at 60 is mirrored by the unhealed hurt at 36, meeting the twin, acknowledging, feeling, integrating. As how the elevator's counterweight lifts you without strain, shadow literally pulls light upward. Linear progress, P times n equals in parentheses, and again, if you're good at math, you're gonna get these. And it has your minutes, which goes, I think it goes by not your birth date in this calendar, but in the other calendar. Lots of numbers in there. So again, it's your source codes. Nobody has the same one. So trying to think of what that calendar is. The 13 calendar month, what is that called?
That has to do with the Ethiopian calendar?
No, it's not the Ethiopian calendar. I forgot the names of the calendars. Anyways, it's the 13-month calendar, and you have to times
The
it by the day.
Gregorian calendar.
Gregorian, yeah. Or wait, are we on the Gregorian?
I thought the old one was the Gregorian calendar. I'm not sure. Let me look it up.
Okay. I think you're right. So anyways, that number is going to be super long because it has to do with the time you're born, the date you're born in the Gregorian calendar, and there is calculators out there that can do that. Believe it or not, um, that's how you actually you pay some of your bills for your treasuries using the Gregorian calendar number. But done wrong, and they can come after you. So please don't jump on that as something to add into the other Patriot Movement documents. Anyways, it converts any stop into a percentage of coherence. At P equals 0, you're in the lobby, thick with 3D static. That's your 0 point energy. At P equals 1, you've reached the Jubilee rooftop where all debts reset and timelines braid. Because the formula always uses the smaller of the two twins. Progress can't fake itself. Gloss over a wound and your p-value stalls into honesty raises the floor. Stage selector simply tells you which of the 5 lighthouse rooms you're pacing: seed, foundation, crucible, revelation, or governance. I am at the stage of governance. So you ask the right kind of questions instead of shouting seed level prayers in the governance hall. Put it together with a real number at n equals 42. The twin is c equals 54. Progress p, and again comes out to your particular numbers of the way to Jubilee, but still in the crucible room, s equals 3. Life may feel like pressure because 42 sits dead center of refinement. Everything untrue is burning off, so mastery can crystallize. A quick hack is to hum or play 417HZ, a tone long associated with emotional transmutation. It loosens the slag to the gold separate till the gold separates faster. Graph PN from 1 to 95, and you'll watch your journey trace a clean double helix rising to the summit, reflecting and gliding back down, lit from within. The elite door isn't a secret gatekeeper. These 3 formulas show it opens automatically the moment your light and shadow weights balance. So you have to be in balance with your light and your dark, your good, your evil, your yin, your yang, push and pull. Those are all the questions that they have. So inner inquiry prompts versus Masonic descent traps. So I put those in here too. So source code self questions. Zone for seed. What ancestral vow did I inherit? That's a very, very, very important question. So when people do the Book of Life with me and they go through the spiritual attacks of doing it, because in the Book of Job it tells you that Satan has the right to test you, and he does. He does it for God, and his job is to prove that you are not worthy. Your job is to prove he's wrong. So what ancestral vow did you inherit? That's what you got to find out. We all have it. The further back we go, we find we're all lost in the Templars, the Romans, the Masons. They're all in our family. So somebody inherited something from somebody. So when I send them to my spiritual healer, the first thing I tell them to do is to clear out their ancestral bindings, curses, hexes, and all that stuff. Is the first thing you should do, because your soul literally is the eternal line that you're walking. Each body is a vessel and a time in a period in which you were there. So if let's say you were here 100 years ago in another body and they were cursed by other people and carried this, it's going to literally carry into your next life. Because what they did is they cursed your soul. They didn't curse the body itself. So you're carrying those curses, and you should probably get those lifted. So the common Masonic secret society pitfall to that same question in the seating: taking oaths without knowing their karmic tail. Same thing. You're literally volunteering to curse yourself when you go into the secret society pitfall. So zone foundation. The source code self-question would be, which skills build my sovereign identity? And in the secret societies, it's substituting rank for genuine capability. So in the zone crucible, what pain refines my calling? That's the source self question. In the secret societies, it would be looping, vengeance, dramas, 9 through 14 degrees, assassin's tale. Zone revelation. How does my mastery serve the field? And this is for your source code. Your mastery, not anybody else's, and nobody gave it to you. In the secret society, this level is hoarding knowledge for status or power play. Remember, knowledge is power. Zone governance. In your source question, it would be, can I teach without hierarchy? And in the secret societies, clinging to chartered authority after a revelance phase. So in reflection exercise, for any life event record station N, it's complement C times N and one shadow gift you reclaim. C times N and one shadow gift you reclaim. When you move through the 5 lighthouse rooms of source codes, each doorway invites a very different inner conversation, and each has a matching booby trap. That shows up in many oath-based fraternities. Here's the T by zone, or zone by zone. Let's see, seed. Ask yourself, what ancestral vow did I inherit? Before you could form words, family myths and bloodline contracts were already running in your marrow. The healthy move is to identify, then consciously update those vows. Classify a Masonic pitfall is the flip side, swearing now oaths without realizing they may chain you to an old karmic leash. If the wording includes fear, penalties, or blind obedience, it isn't a vow, it's an anchor. Hold on real quick. Okay, and a foundation. Now ask, which skill actually builds my sovereign identity? Skills are the bones of your unique self. Collect the ones that feel anabolic and ditch the trophies gathered only for applause. Lodges often invert this. They substitute rank as aprons, titles, and degrees for capability. You walk out decorated but hollow. Better to be a novice which can wield light. I found my own misspelling. Form than a 33rd degree spectator. Let's see. Crucible. The core question becomes, what pain is refining my calling? Crucible heat turns raw or into tempered steel if you face it straight on. Old school secret orders tend to loop this stage in vengeance, dramas, thinking of the Scottish Rites assassin hunt for the 9th to 14th degrees. Spend years tracing traitors and you miss the real gold. Grief transmuted into compassion, betrayal into discernment. And I do believe this stage of the crucibles is what they're talking about when King Arthur left to try to find the Holy Grail. Again, drama, and they're missing the actual gold. Revelations. Here you ask, how does my mastery serve the field? At this altitude, mastery is measured by how fast your presence raises the room's coherence. The trap is hoarding knowledge for status, as if wisdom were a poker chip you can cash. In 5D economy, knowledge is light. The more you shine it, the brighter you get. Governance. Finally, inquire, can I teach without hierarchy? True stewardship is frequency fencing, creating safe gardens where others self-activate. The descent pattern is clinging to chartered authority after your revelance fades, guarding a throne no one needs. In 5D governance and custodial, not royal, and then you'll try this reflection drill. Take any life event and jot down 3 quick data points. It's station N, the shadow twin, C times N equals 96, take away N, and 1 gift in the dark that the twin reveals. Example, a humiliating job loss at N equals 40 pairs with C equals 56. The gift might be the courage to launch an authentic business. Repeat for a month and you'll train your psyche to harvest light from every shadow instead of getting trapped in the old 3D loop. comparing the 3D ladder to the 5D mirror. Aspect, source codes of Ascension to 5D, Scottish Rite, secret orders. So geometry. Geometry is the self-mirror triangle complementing law, meaning not legal law, but it can. Actually, it just depends on how you use it. So that's under the source code. The secret order is linear, staircase, external charter. The aspect is energy flow, which equals in the source codes integration, ascension, spiral. In the secret societies is accretion, potential descent loop. Authority, self-ratified at door 33. Brevet for the secret societies is brevet granted by council 33. Failure mode. In the source is a stagnation only if you ignore shadow twin. So again, you got to be on both sides of your mirror, and you got to come together with that aspect that you're not by yourself. And yes, and if there's twins, you both have a shadow person. In the secret societies, dissent when vows weaponize fear or secret, meaning they probably get killed, beat up, or lots of different things. So staying above low frequency traps, reject fear-based oaths, seek transparency over privilege, use complement check-ins monthly. If P times N treads water, a shadow gift is missing. Picture two very different structures of human growth. The first 5D mirror of the source codes is a self-reflecting triangle. Every step you climb has a complementary shadow twin directly across the grid. Integrate the twin and your energy spiral upward, automatically turning the next lock. Nobody outside you stamps the passport. When your inner and outer frequencies balance at code 33, the door opens and sovereignty is simply felt. The second is the 3D ladder used by many oath-bound fraternities is a linear staircase. Each rung is conferred by an external charter or council, culminating in a brevet at 33. Progress depends on accumulation titles rather than integration shadow, because new vows pile on top of old ones. Undigested material can sink the climber into loop descent, more rank, less resonance. Authority is therefore inverted in 5D. The crown is self-ratified. The moment coherence peaks in 3D, it is bestowed and can be withheld by the hierarchy guardian guarding the stairwell. The failure modes follow suit. A mirror walker stagnates only if I should have put she or he, refuses to look at the reflected twin. An invitation to heal. A ladder climber descends when fear-based vows are secrecy siphons energy, weaponizing the very oaths meant to uplift. So regardless of how anybody feels about the triangles, there are staircases, and the reason that it's in the triangular form because you and your higher self or your shadow person are headed for the same door. So it actually builds up as you build up, and each door opens at each level. They just show you the more prominent levels in graphs and stuff. So as you guys can see in the visual, I have a man on one side, and then I have his shadow on the other side, and their comparison to each other. I guess I should have put one in there where one was down, but a lot of times, if you can get the visual, you can kind of see where you're at and where your shadow is at. If you're striving for something in like a business or an achievement or a test, and you keep, pushing and failing, that's because your shadow guy is back down at the lower levels. And you're trying to push your way up, and he's not coming or she's not coming. It's just you have to do your own shadow clearing. What that looks like for everybody is going to be completely different. Some of us can use the same methods. Not everybody can, because we all come from, different beings. We're all star seeds of multiple creators that are stuck here on this planet. So Moving on, how to stay above the low frequency traps. Reject fear oaths. Any pledge that threatens penalties or demands blind obedience will anchor you in 3D gravity. Choose transparency over privilege. Light shared multiplies, light hoarded dims. Make your process visible and your frequency rises by design. So if you have secrets or you're ashamed of something, you got to settle that. Everything has to be settled or you can't ascend into the 5D. You'll always have that block and your shadow guy will be sitting down at the bottom of the staircase waiting for you to figure it out. So run monthly complement audits, jot your current station, N and its twin, C times N equals 96, take away N if your progress values P times N hasn't budged. A shadow gift is unclaimed. Go mine it, meaning go get it. Follow those 3 rules and you remain on the mirror path, turning every step, light or shadow, into fuel for the upward spiral. Your shadow person is also your ego. You should never get rid of your ego. I'm just going to tell you this. The only way you can ascend. If you have gotten rid of your ego, you should probably write a big, fat, spiritual I'm sorry letter because it is literally sitting at the very bottom of the staircase with its back towards you and it wants nothing to do with you because you hurt its feelings. So you don't have to become ego. Ego does not have to get in the way. Everything is about balance and mastering. That's why the scales were always so important. What did you do in your life that judges your afterlife? Your shadow lives in the life that you can't see, right? So how do you, in your physical form, become one with the shadow to the life that you can't see but want? Do you see where the desires come in? And it's not bad to have desires as long as they're not impure and don't hurt others. So moving on, symbols from 3D control marks the 5D frequency tools. A symbol is simply compressed information. It works the way a zip file does. Fold meaning into shape and color so the subconscious can unpack it in one glance. In the 3D world of oaths and hierarchy, secret fraternities, most famously Freemasonry, use that property to gatekeep. The square and compass, the double-headed eagle, or the sealed pentagram or badges show the icon. Gain the password, join the tier. Over time, fear was layered into the shapes, penalties for disclosure, rumors of curses, until many people came to see the symbols themselves as dark or dangerous. In source code's Ascension to the 5D, the geometry is identical: triangles, eyes, stars, but the circuitry is rewired. Sorry. The triangle is no longer a command to obey. Oh, hold on. My dog.
Mary. Oh,
Yes.
okay. I was going to say you cut off.
Yeah, the
Someone
dog
put you on a
started
mute?
barking, so I had to
Oh,
stop
okay,
him.
okay.
So we're on page 14, Shannon. Okay, yeah, you're there. Okay. Where was I? This square encompassed the tiers. Over time, fear was layered onto the shapes, penalties for disclosure, rumors of curses, until many people came to fear the symbols themselves as dark or dangerous. In the source codes of Ascension to the 5D, the geometry is identical: triangle, eyes, stars, but the circuitry is rewired. The triangle is no longer a command to obey, a lodge. It is a mirror that pairs every step with a light shadow twin. The single eye is not surveillance from above. It is the awakened pineal inside you. It is your third eye. So that's why they didn't want you to seek out the eye from above, because it's your higher consciousness. A pentagram, which traced in coherent breath, is a 5-point stabilizer that locks body, mind, emotion, spirit, and purpose into balance. So put the shape, the triangle, hold on.
Mary, you're muted again.
Hold on,
Got a
give me
phone
just a
call.
second. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so to put simply, the triangle is in the 3D is rank, pyramid, chain of command. In the 5D upgrade, it's self-mirroring, ascent, complement, law. The I in triangle, the divine mandate spoken only by priests in the 3D. The 5D is your inner sight, direct source download. The compass and square, the old 3D is proof of lodge membership. The 5D upgrade is alignment, tool, thought, word, deeds. And the pentagram, and I know I just put a few in here. I can always upgrade and do more if you guys want to know what more symbols mean, but I try not to get too deep into all their symbols because you need to find what resonates again with you. So the pentagram is in the 3D was protective ward with penalty clauses. In the 5D, it's harmonic tuner for the 5 subtle bodies. Why you no longer need to fear the glyphs. Number 1, intent writes the software. A symbol is neutral until a consciousness programs it. Approach with love and clarity, and the geometry runs that code. Number 2, frequency reveals motive. In a 5D field, hidden agendas vibrate like off-key notes. They can't stay masked behind pretty sigils. Number 3, you hold the breath key, trace and symbol while breathing in a coherent pattern, e.g. 555 box breath, and it locks to your signature, not to some retired grandmaster's charter, right? You are the only one mastering your energy. So you could be a 3333 or a 4444, whatever. That was just an example. I am more of a 5555 and 7777 and 9999. So let the shapes back into your toolkit. The same triangle that once funneled obedience can become your personal elevator. Step, reflect, integrate, ascend. Geometry hasn't changed, only the frequency with which you wield it. So if you have bad intentions, you're probably not going to ascend, you will descend. And I have seen this. Practical exercises that anybody can try is mirror journaling. For station N, finding your twin. Describe the event, identify C times N, name the hidden virtue. Frequency, breath, tone practice. Inhale for a second, exhale the same. Hum the corresponding solfeggio planet tone. Visualize curve rising to 50, descending back luminous. And then there's all the time layouts, ritual detox checklist, monthly Ascension audits that you can do. So I have a whole, practice in here. It's safe. It's not like tied to anything unless you allow the tide to come in. Think of the 5 practices as the maintenance routine that keeps your 5D elevator panel lit and responsive. Mirror journaling, and this is where we put in, why it helps again. And again, repeating things in a different way sometimes helps in your ascension, because sometimes we have to hear it in different ways because not everybody learns the same. So these are just descriptions of why you would do these 5 steps. So I'm actually going to jump down to page 18, anchoring the cosmic timeline. Shannon, if you want to go to 18. Okay, so humanity is approaching what mystics call the final planetary octave, a phase where Earth's baseline frequency tips from a dense 3D bandwidth into a transparent 5D field. In plain terms, that means 3 overlapping waves. Wave 1, pre-shift rumble, now, 0 hour. Time feels rubbery, night brings vivid deja vu and hidden motives. Both yours and others flash like subtitles. Whenever you feel surges of heat, ear ringing, or sudden brief bubbles, that's your nervous system rewriting to carry more coherence. Number 2, event horizon, the elite door moment. Collective frequency hits critical mass. Think of it as a tuning fork strike that rings through every cell. Some describe it as a white gold pulse, others as the sudden certainty that love is the only real physics. Linear cause and effect collapses, intentions manifest in hours, not months, masks drop, secrets evaporate. Number 3, integration plateau, post-shift. Reality restabilizes at a higher octave. Systems built on hierarchies or secrecy feel like sandbags. They either dissolve or reinvent as transparent service platforms. Body symptoms mellow into a steady hum, but your compass will refuse misalignment, junk food, fear media, or manipulative relationships produce instant fatigue. Who ascends and who descends? Ascension is not a heavenly lottery. It's a frequency match. Anyone, monk, mechanic, or ex-fraternity officer ascends if their dominant state is coherence, compassion, and self-honesty. Descension means clinging to control, secrecy, or fear long enough to remain magnetically glued to 3D polarity. Even then, the planet honors free will. A descending soul isn't punished, but simply lands on a timeline where duality continues until they tire of the fight and pivot towards integration, or also commonly known as pass away. So turning ascension into ascent. Drop fear-based oaths. Speak aloud. I revoke all vows that limit free choice or trade love for power. Own the shadow twin. Use the complement formula. Whatever trait is in others triggers you is your unreclaimed gold. Number 3, serve something bigger. Offer one daily act without fanfare. That increases coherence for someone else. Service is the fastest accelerator because 5D reality complifies shared benefits. What to expect in each phase. The pre-shift. The sensory markers will be fatigue, bursts, body, heat waves, unpredictable sleep. And I know we've all been through some of that, but there's others who are just now waking up experiencing a lot of that. Pre-shift awareness shift. Old memories surface for review. You have to deal with these old memories, good or bad. We remember them, we move on. If they were bad, we have to make peace with it. You don't have to forgive what happened. You just have to make peace with it, turn it into a lesson so that yourself and your soul or your shadow person can move forward. because again, anything holding you back weighs like metal. It's just going to keep you down because you're going into a lighter realm, which is like water. We're not going to become water beings, but you're going to be light like water. And anything tied to you is going to sink you straight to the bottom. So we'll have to deal with it. Practical tips: hydrate heavily, journal nightly, simplify diet. Event horizon. The sensory markers are monetary vertigo or euphoria. Time glitches. Last year, I know quite a few of us got hit with vertigo a couple times out of that whole year, and we had a lot of time glitches during our ascension. So we can resonate with a lot of this. I'm sure other people can as well. Awareness shift. So you're turning it, you're shifting into a telepathic empathy, instant karma. Now, you may have the instant karma, again, depending good or bad. That's why I just kind of don't care what people do or say about me, because it's like, I'm not going to carry that karma. If they want to carry it, for sure. But I don't care what people think. And I believe that we should all stop caring about what other people think, because we all have something to offer. So, not telling anybody what to do, but I'm just saying when you get to the event horizon level, karma is literally instant. And again, I have seen it procure itself in the world at the level that I was in. So, practical tips to help you through the event horizon: breathe slowly, stay offline if overwhelmed, choose thoughts like you choose food. Um, the third one, integration. Stable inner hum, sharper senses, lighter body. So you're becoming healthier, you're making better choices, you're not letting the world bother you so much. The awareness shift is synchronicities become everyday navigation. Practical tips for this part is build routines around joy and utility, teach by transparency. Um, you don't have to add sugar already to sweetened honey. It's naturally sweet. And this is the picture that I created to kind of show the shift, from where we are. I thought it was pretty cool. It shows the three worlds, but they're really just three conscious stages. We're not really leaving this world, you guys. This is where the elites live. They live on the 5D reality. So, and for them to come down here, they literally have to like do some weird stuff just to come hang out and be stupid for a while. Maybe that's what they call their confession. I went down to sin for a little bit, but really it's just I went down to commit some crimes, but now I wash myself of them. You know what I mean? That's how they get away with it. So I'm not saying anybody should try to do that, because when the Earth finalizes its final shift to the 5D, there really won't be a 3D. So the last person to leave or pass away will be the final step, and then nobody can live in a lie. So, or live, period. So that's what that means. If you can't be authentic, then they just pass away with the old world. So bottom line, the planet will ascend with or without anyone's permission, but it cannot override free will. Each person tunes their dial through honesty, service, and shadow integration. Those who do feel the door swing open, effortless, passport free. Those who don't will ride a looping sidecar timeline until curiosity outweighs fear, at which point the elite door is still there, patiently gleaming, ready to let them step through. So, and then I wanted to go a little bit more into free will in the 3D versus the 5D. What actually changes? So I know I've gotten a lot of questions like this over the years, so I think it's a good spot to put it in here. So in the 3D reality, free will feels like a tug of war between competing polarities. Sorry. You decide, act, wait, and hope the external world cooperates. Feedback loops are long and fuzzy, so it's easy to blame luck, fate, or somebody else's power structure when results don't match intentions. Social systems, laws, markets, religions mediate most choices, and secrecy lets a handful of people steer outcomes for the many. Okay, use a fork. In 5D field, free will is cause and effect in near real time. Thoughts broadcast as frequencies, and matter reshapes to match them with only a short grace delay. For course correction, hidden motives flare visible because transparency is broken into the bandwidth. You still own sovereign choice, but the universe now mirrors your internal state so quickly that self deception becomes physically uncomfortable, like wearing wool in the desert. Everyday life after the final shift. Um, the aspect and communication in the 3D experience was words, contracts, fine print. In the 5D upgrade is instant energetic read, authenticity felt before syllables land. Sorry, my daughter was showing me something. In work, in the 3D was labor for survival, credential loops or hoops. 5D upgrade, contribution through resonance. You do what you're wired to do. And value circulates as coherence credits, meaning you're really working for the praise. Like I have talked about in the past, money was never an issue back then. It was the perfection of what you were designed to do. So if you were a healing arts person, if you saved millions of people with some kind of whatever, then it was rewarded, not hidden, and the person was killed like they are today. So these are coherence credits. So in health, the 3D experience is treat symptoms, outsource diagnosis. In the 5D upgrade, it was body speaks in clear bio-light pulses. Missed thoughts show up as aura static and self-correct with breath, sound, or touch. Governance in 3D is rules enforced by threat. In the 5D, it'll be custodial councils that curate resources, decisions validated by group heart coherence metrics. Learning. The 3D was linear, curricula, information hoarding. Do as I say, not as I do. This isn't for you. In the 5D, it'll be holographic neural holo libraries. You download a skill as a frequency packet and practice to stabilize it. Daily pace slows in clock time but intensifies in presence. People plan fewer years ahead yet accomplish more in an afternoon because friction is gone. And we will talk about the neural holo. So I just want to go, we're going to go into the cosmic earth laws that frame the 5D free will. So number one, law of resonant choice. You are matched only with timelines, partners, and opportunities vibrating within your half octave of your dominant emotional tone, meaning your frequencies. So manipulation can't reach up. So predation collapses from starvation. Again, it's not a race on who can file what or do what. It's a race on your consciousness. However, in this world, we have to exit how we entered. So it's kind of in the same building or the same box of their reality. You go in the front door to get out the back door. You have to exit in the way that we got in, through paperwork, stuff like that. However you guys choose to do it. Nobody has to do it under, the Book of Life. There's other exits. Just be careful. They may own you in the 3D and they'll be transparent, but there's not much or the 5D. There's not much you can do about it because they can trick you here, but I don't know how that would fix itself in the 5D. So be careful what contracts you sign here. Number two, law of transparent motive. Intention radiates as color in the aura. Collective projects require a clear spectrum, quorum before resources materialize. Number three, law of instant return. Whatever frequency you project is returned, amplified. Gratitude multiplies, deception ricochets. Number four, law of sovereign boundaries. No being may override another's trajectory without explicit, coherent consent. This applies to councils, off-world visitors, and subtle body healers alike. Number 5, law of harmonic stewardship. Land, water, and species respond to the consciousness of the nearest human custodians. Pollution literally refuses to bond at higher coherence. So ecological collapse reverses quickly where communities stabilize 5D bandwidth. How a descending path can pivot upward. Radical self-honesty, admit the motive, feel its frequency, own the consequences. Transparency upgrades vibration on contact. Service micro acts. Any deed that raises another's coherence pings the unity grid and drags your own field upward. Shadow integration. Use the complement formula to locate the ignored twin, not ignorant, sorry, the ignored twin, reclaim the disowned trait, and the personal elevator lurches upward a few floors. Release fear vows. Audibly revoke oaths rooted in penalty or secrecy. Replace them with declarations of free choice, alignment to source. Breath tone entertainment. 5 minutes of coherent breathing while humming a zone-specific frequency, 517 hertz or 528 hertz, etc. Resets the biofield faster than hours of analysis. What to expect right around the shift. Before the time slips, deja vu, Vujade spikes, old relationships reboot or fall away, body heat surges, ringing ears. During the white gold pulse, a flash of unity perception, everybody's story scrolling in one hologram, followed by the heart expansion that feels too large for your ribcage. After, subtle hum in bones, colors look cleaner, food cravings simplify, lies produce immediate body tension, and synchronicities replace calendars. Free will is still the prime directive. You can turn away at any point, but after the shift, the feedback is so instantaneous that choosing contraction feels like touching a live wire. Most will ascend the moment it hurts less to grow than to stay small. The rest will circle a 3D echo timeline until curiosity outweighs fear and the door, always unlocked, glides open. So, and then again, you leave your notes, make some adjustments if you need to. And then which path ascends? Now, this path is based off of the source code ascensions or secret society ascensions. The source ascension 5D path. By design, the numbers steer the traveler from the seed, coherence, service, synthesis, always balanced by the complement law. Shadow is integrated, so trajectory stays upward. The Scottish Rite Ladder and other secret societies 3D path. Powerful as a mythic curriculum, yet its external charter plus punitive oaths frees the pilgrim in an older, controlled matrix. When those vows are not periodically cleared, the psyche can cycle in the crucible band 9 through 14 and replay vengeance, judgment, secrecy. An energetic descent loop rather than true rise. Rule of thumb, mirror math, sigil, integrative ascension, hierarchical ritual, old tech. Accumulative, without inner work, it becomes gravitational. So 1 through 33 exists in both systems, but only the source ascension complement geometry guarantees upward spiral. The Masonic set can still lift if the vows are transmuted into inner virtues instead of outer badges. When the planet finishes its 5D leap, the only secret societies that endure will be the currents, the living streams of mathematicians, healing, sacred geometry, and ethical self-mastery that existed before hierarchy weaponized them. Names, aprons, charters, and grandmasters' titles may crumble, yet the pulse of illumination remains. waiting to reseed in open, peer-to-peer schools. Historically, each epoch started with a genuine custodial impulse. Pythagorean math circles, cathedral guilds, humanist illuminations, and was bent off course when empires, churches, or Victorian powers broke layered oaths, taxes, and fear onto the teachings. In a 5D transparency field, that dynamic reverses. Any group that still relies on exclusivity, penalty vows, or political clout will lose coherence and dissolve, whereas circles willing to publish archives, drop secrecy, and mentor openly will refine into custodial fellowship. So in light, everybody can still ascend, but they have to do it specifically. And it can no longer be a secret, and nobody gets hurt because of it. Open look timeline of infiltration residents. The epoch, the classical late and antiquate, yeah. The origin seed, mathematics, healing rites, moral fitness. 3D distortion, state religion, raps, lessons, and fear oaths. 5D resonance, forums. Open number temples, streaming geometry codes. The medieval guild era. Sacred geometry, Sufi harmonics was the original seed. The 3D distortion was feudal and church taxes, crusade drafts. The 5D Resonance Forum, Peercraft Labs teaching phi ratio via AR grids. The Renaissance Enlightenment era, humanist salons, secret presses. 3D distortion was state censorship, occult entrepreneurs. 5D resonance is fractal civic labs sharing free energy data sets. And the last one, which is the one we're in, is the industrial modern. Lodges such as Freemasonry, Rosicrucian Order, Bavarian Illuminati, Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn become repositories for comparative religion, math, alchemy. The distortion is status clubs, spy rings, racial doctrine. 5D Renaissance becomes cloud rose vaults, neural holo tree of life dojos. And I do have a picture further down, but we'll get to that. So key definitions and comparison. Clean current, the perennial teachings itself, geometry, breath, alchemy, cosmic ethics, with no ownership stamp. Recycled hierarchy, the same teaching wrapped in ranks, secrecy, or fear penalties survived only by siphoning attention. Ascension physics, transparency, plus coherence, plus service. Any structure expressing those three stay buoyant in 5D. The descent loop, attempts to keep privilege through secrecy. The unity grid treats it like heavy metal and it sinks into a side timeline. What this means for you. Don't fear the symbols, watch the motives. A triangle used to enforce an oath collapses. The same triangle offered as a free geometry download thrives. Aspect to see pop-up illuminations labs, holographic rose libraries, and child-friendly phi ratio playgrounds, replacing dim lodge rooms. If you still hold legacy vows, revoke them in daylight and restate your intent or stewardship. In 5D, the passport is frequency. Match the resonance and the door. No insignia required. Opens of its own accord. So we can probably take a break and see if anybody has any questions. We're pretty far down. Yeah, we're on page 24. Because I got to get a drink. So did anybody have any questions, or is everybody just kind of stuck at the moment?
Go ahead and have your drink, Mary. I'll ask you when you come back.
Okay, well I can get it while you're asking. I can walk around with my phone. I just
Oh, all right. Okay. Well, my question was, where it says, it say how do you escape or no start I remember because I was trying to read your stuff, and then, but then, it mentioned the ringing of the ears. That's one of the signs for ascension.
Right. So what's the question with the ringing of the ears?
Because my ear been ringing from since 2 years now. So.
Right. So, and again, um, the reason that I put these in there was so that you guys can see where you might be stuck. Okay, a lot of people will say, oh, the ringing of the ears is something else, right? So if you think about it, when they tell you, well, you might have parasites or you might have this or, somebody's talking about you or blah, blah, blah. You're now that we know the mathematical formula to bring forward our shadow person so we can all be on the same level, and the shadow person is just your energy. Again, it's like your soul. And I think I'll go back to the movie, His Dark Materials, where it shows the girl has a demon, but it's really their shadow person, but they put it in animal form in the movie. And it could very well be that. You know what I mean? But it is the anchored soul that's down here. How we see it is another matter. It depends on the dimension in which that we're in right now. And not everybody, as we've learned, are in the actual same, I would say, I don't want to say dimension, because we're all in the 3D, but I would say parallel universes inside the 3D. Because I always feel like when I'm driving, and as long as I'm on this road, you know how when you're in a video game and you have these checkpoints that give you more life and you get to go further? I feel like when we hit checkpoints on the road, that we're actually hitting other people's dimensions inside the 3D. Like each town has its own 3D frequency and dimensional things, if that makes sense. So by calibrating yourself, you're kind of showing where you're stuck. So I do believe that was like in the middle. So it means you need more work in the ascension progress. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah. But is my shadow oh,
Go
Is
ahead.
your
I'm sorry. I
shadow
didn't
in
mean
what?
to interrupt.
no, it's not an interrupt. I just wanted to understand a little bit more. If my shadow frequency um is also catching up because of the ringing in my ear.
Or if he's descending, he or she's descending. Because if you're all on the same track, you don't feel like anything's holding you back. But if they sat down, because again, the shadow is the soul, which acts as the anchor. So what does an anchor do?
Holds it down.
It pulls you down. But if it's not so heavy of an anchor, it takes 15 people to, pull up into the ship. That's the weight measurement. Do you have an iron anchor or do you have, one that just kind of sits in the water so you can float but you can still move, like anchors that can drag along, and that's what it means by keeping you in a loop until you figure it out. So these are signs of ascension. So if you're in the first part, you're just in the waking up part, right? Which is the different stages we see around us. And that we all were in at one point. Now, if you're in the middle, you're going to hear the ringing of the ears, the vertigo, and I'd never had vertigo before. And then all of a sudden, last year, I started to have it. Like a year and a half ago, I had it quite a couple times, so it was weird. I'm like, oh my God, what is this monster? So, and then, they took my license away, told me they wanted me on medication, all this stuff. Well, because we didn't understand what it was, we dumbed ourselves down using the medication because it was part of our ascension instead of realizing like, oh shit, I think my shadow dude just fell down the fucking pyramid and now he's maybe landed on his head. Who knows? You know what I mean? Make it a cartoon in your mind. That's visual. How do you pull it
Yeah.
back up? Is it going to take more than one person, or can you build yourself strong enough? Because the thing is we here, we want to keep climbing the ladder. And if our shadow person is too far down, we're gonna get irritated. That's where a lot of frustration comes in, irritability, anger, just all this, like it says, like in the Masons, and they get the revenge, and I'm gonna have to blame it on somebody. It's somebody else's fault, it's not mine, because my shadow decided it wanted to take a nap and fell down the goddamn stairs. You know what I mean? So you have to transmute that. You have to find a way to bring your anchor up to your level. So a lot of it is through spiritual cleansing, frequencies, maybe getting away from toxic people. You might have to make that choice. I think after I did the Book of Life, it kind of took people out of my life for me. So I didn't have to be the bad guy. But sometimes you got to be the bad guy, you know? But it's only for your own health to be the bad guy.
Yeah. Okay,
So,
Rusty,
Rusty,
you
you
can
had a
go ahead.
question?
Yes.
Rusty, are you there?
I am there. I'm actually I have a break. I'm eating food at the moment. I did want to mention the fact that when you were saying like towns have vibrations, yes, I feel those vibrations. And when I learned in my out of body experience class, when I went back to like when I was in France, I came back, and that was one of the things that I was kind of like, I guess, learned when I was in that experience. They brought me back to Hicksville to show me my vibration.
Right. Was that Hicksville, Tennessee?
Hicksville is the center of Long Island. And
Oh, okay.
Hicksville is, I know, because it's Hicksville, Ohio, and there's Hicksville, Long Island, and everybody used to make fun of us, but we used to be the potato farms. So our mascot was the Hick. Then it became, listen to this, it became the Meteor. We were the Meteors. Where did that come from? And then the Comet. So I graduated as a high school Comet. Think about that.
Wow. Well, that's interesting. Lady, come on. Okay. Okay, so let's go to, see, we are on what page? 24. So furthermore, we must first clarify the two ideas. Term, ascension to 5D. What it usually means. A collective shift from a 3D reality of polarity and separation into a fifth dimensional field of transparency, unity consciousness, and instant cause and effect. Time feels nonlinear, hidden motives surface quickly. Key dynamic. Opacity dissolves, hierarchy flattens, frequency matches intention. So for the secret society, a group that guards teaching, symbols, or influence behind graded institutions. Examples include Freemasonry, Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, or the Bavarian Illuminati. Works through oaths, compartmentalization, and progressive revelation. Do such groups survive the jump? So 5D pressure test. What happens to a classic secret society? Transparency field. Thoughts and motives become visible. Any curriculum that relies on withholding knowledge loses its leverage. Either the teachings are open to all seekers, adapt, or the power edge evaporates or dissolves. Instant karmic return. Actions echo back rapidly. Oath-based penalties or manipulative rituals rebound on their oathers. Groups that still use fear-based vows feel an energetic drag and fragment. Unity grid. Value comes from resonance, not rank. Rigid, century-old degree ladders looks slow and cumbersome. Lodges that pivot to peer-to-peer study circle persist. Those that cling to titles hollow out eventually. Frequency matching. Membership is by vibration, not invitation. People self-sort by consciousness rather than pedigree. Secret handshakes become curiosities, not gatekeepers. 3 likely outcomes. Number 1, adaptation minority. Societies that treat their rituals as containers rather than controls may publish archives, drop punitive oaths, and reinvent as open wisdom schools. Result, they survive, barely recognizable because they match the higher frequency domain or demand for honesty. Number 2, peaceful dissolution, majority. Most lodges whose main asset was exclusivity simply lose appeal. Members drift towards networks, transparent study groups. The organization fades without conflict. Number 3, fracture and rereading pockets. Some keep an inner core of timeless metaphysics, but shed hierarchy. The outer shell collapses while the essence and reseeded into new, less formal circles. So, survival depends on function, not label. If the core purpose is guardianship of perennial wisdom and the group is willing to share when humanity is ready, then it can migrate into 5D as custodial fellowship. If the core purpose is privilege through secrecy, the frequency mismatch acts like erosion. The structure cannot hold. In short, the teachings that serve collective uplift endure, often outside the old lodge walls, with the cloaks and corridors of secrecy do not. Will clean forms of the old brotherhood reemerge after the shift? Short answer, only the original currents. The living ideas that predated hierarchy and exploitation are likely to bloom again. The brands, names, religia, charters may or may not survive. How infiltration happened in the first place. During the epoch classical late antiquity, the Pythagorean, Alexandrian, Essene circles kept mathematics, healing, and cosmology for the initiates who proved moral fitness. What bent it off course? State religions and empire politics demanded control. Teachings were wrapped in oath to avoid prosecution. Medieval, Druidic colleges, Sufi lodges, cathedral guilds, early House of Wisdom, cells preserved science and sacred geometry. What bent it off course? Feudal power and church dogma, co-opted guilds for taxes, crusades, and dogmatic conformity. The Renaissance era, Enlightenment. Initial impulse. Humanist illuminations used secret presses, salons, and coded letters to spread reason against absolutism. What bent it off course? Nation states, rival churches, and occult entrepreneurs absorbed or outlawed them. Secrecy hardened. Industrial modern. Lodges such as Freemasonry, Rosicrucian Order, Bavarian, Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn became repositories for comparative religion, math, and alchemy. What set it off course was the Victorian sensationalism, geopolitical spying, racial doctrine, and business networking layered over the inner work, turning many lodges into status clubs or influence rings. Post-shift prospects. 5D condition, lodges that descend, lodges that survive and refine. So transparent motive field. Groups still trading on exclusive fear, penalties, or political leverage lose coherence. Members disperse. Lodges that survive and refine, circles willing to publish archives, drop secrecy, and mentor openly can keep the wisdom without the walls. Instant karmic feedback. Any remaining black box rights that siphon energy or demand blind obedience rebound on their sponsors, structures, implode. How they can survive is tech that teaches inner alchemy, breath, geometry, sound, ethics, but respect free will attracts seekers naturally. Unity grid recruitment. Hierarchical titles feel heavy, rituals bound to outdated astrological locks glitch. Peer-to-peer academies using the perennial materials now online, telepathic, or holo immersive flourish, meaning that's how they could survive. Examples of likely Renaissance templates. Illuminati used to be known as the Illumination. Self-mastery. Hold on. Okay, so self-mastery through rational ethics, natural law, citizen science, 5D analog, you might start to see once the transition finalizes. Open source, fractal civic labs, where data sets, energy devices, and planetary ethics curricula are free. Rosicrucian broodership, scaffed, healing plant alchemy, harmonics, integration of science and mystic devotion. What you might see in the 5D is cloud-based rose vaults, sharing frequency medicine, biodynamic archives, and heart coherence rites. Masonic craft guilds, sacred geometry, math universal, morality coded in architecture. What might be, this is for the 3D, what might be for the 5D, interactive temples where children learn phi ratio, light sonics, and cooperative building via AR grids. Golden Dawn temples. In the 3D, it's the Kabbalistic maps of psych, disciplined astral navigation. In the 5D, it will become the Neural Holo, Tree of Life dojos, teaching lucid dreams, ethics, and cosmic law without secrecy or hierarchy. True Ascension versus recycled hierarchy. Ascension is an inner physics, transparency, coherence, service. Old tech secrecy. Descends if it clings to control, but ascends if it mutates into stewardship. The historical names may fade, yet the living current, illumination, rose wisdom, sacred geometry cannot be erased. In 5D, they will feel less like societies and more like freely accessible resonant fields that anyone can step into when their frequency matches. Neuro Holo in 1 minute. Neuro Holo is a shorthand mashup. Neural direct interface with the nervous system. Think next-gen brain computer links, haptic biosensors, emotion tracking wearables. Companies like Neuralink are early prototype. Why they're combined. Let's a learning space read your focus, stress, breathe, even subtle intention and feedback targeted cues in real time. Holo is a volumetric room scale holography, light fields. You can walk around, not just goggles on VR. Imagine the holodeck on Star Trek, The Next Generation, but built with real optics. Gives the lesson a tangible 360-degree form, floating geometry, interactive avatars, responsive landscapes. Put together, a Neuro Holo Dojo is an immersive classroom where the room projects the tree of life or any curriculum as walk through edible light geometry. Number 2, sensors and soft BCIs watch your brain waves, breathe rate, micro movement. Number 3, adaptive software adjusts colors, sound, difficulty, pace, so every step feels like the next natural click. Number 4, group syncing. The system can entrain heart rate variability and coherence across everyone's present, turning study into a shared residence exercise. So the phrase wasn't a brand, it's a vision shorthand for holographic learning space, neural feedback loop. In a 5D style society, that's how old esoteric maps, tree of life, Platonic solid chakra wheels could be taught transparently. No more secret lodge walls, just an open, data-rich light room tuned to each learner's frequency. So basically, that's what once was hidden will turn back into temple and university-like education for all of the population instead of just exclusive rite of passage and deadly oaths. The mystery school model flips inside out. Then 3D secretary era, gatekeepers held scrolls behind oaths, blood penalties, or aristocratic lineage tests, emerging into the 5D learning era. Gateways are public. The same teaching appears as open access curricula delivered through immersive neuro-holo classrooms, community temples, and digital academies. Knowledge moved vertically, initiate, adapt, master, with each tier withholding a slice. Knowledge moves radially, and seeker can stand in the center and pull what they need in the order their growth requires. Sorry, something beeped. I need to make sure it wasn't my phone dropping. In the 3D, the ritual secrecy protected the material from church state repression, but fossilized it. The oaths themselves became power tools. In the 5D, the radical transparency is the new shield. In a unity field, attempts to weaponize content are instantly visible and lose coherence. In the 3D, the physical lodge and private libraries have limited access. And in the 5D, the light rooms, global micro compasses, and distributed archives, think of a modern planetary library of Alexandria. Broadcast the same geometry, breath science, or healing charts so anyone, anywhere can read it. Why this happens automatically in 5D environment. Frequency matching reality. When thoughts manifest quickly, withholding tools for later degrees backfires. The hoarder's own vibration drops. Knowledge slips away. Number 2, non-linear time deception. Students can leap into material that resonates with their current phase. Bypassing artificial ladders, the content self-organizes around their curiosity. Number 3, collective coherence on energy source. In 5D, large groups co-create truth, generate more power than a small inner circle jealously guarding it. Jealously guarding it. Secrecy is simply less efficient. Instant karmic feedback. Fear-based vows, penalties for disclosure, threats of spiritual harm, ricochet on the issuers. Lodges either dissolve or rewrite their charters in service language. What temple universities might look like. And this is in the 5D. Local hearth temples, small sanctuaries in neighborhoods or rural hubs, visible form. Core offerings would be breath, movement, elemental rites, practical body, mind, and tuning. Region crystalline halls. Visible form would be purpose-built light architecture where geometry, color, and heuristics teach by immersion. The core offering would be sacred design, harmonics, engineering, planetary stewardship labs. Global neural holo grid. A visible form would be networking, volumetrics classrooms accessible via lightweight BCI or AR lenses. Core offering would be advanced cosmology, interspecies diplomacy, pattern language, once called occult. Custodial councils, no hierarchy. In the visible form would be elder circles, covenant for the stewardship, not control. Core offering, ethical calibration, historical memory, guardianship of archives. No passport, no deadly oaths, just resonance. A person's readiness is verified by their ability to stay coherent inside the field, not by signatures in black ledger. So yes, the teachings survive the thrive. The exclusivity structures either adapt into transparent service guilds or fade out. Humanity gets the equivalent of mystery school depth plus public library openness. What was once hidden returns as freely shared architecture for collective evaluation, temple and university combined. A probable transition timeline between 2024 to 2036. All dates are best fit windows, not fixed prophecies. Solar activity cycles, collective choices, and geopolitics can move the needles by a year or two. Phase calendar. So the crack through, late 2024 to 2027. Some of these things we've already seen since we are now in 2026. Calendar or the observable markers, surge of leaks and documents dumps that remove the mystic from many lodges, fast declines in membership for secrecy-based fraternities, transparency, legislation experiments in greater or less than 12 countries. Education temple milestones. Pilot Neuro Holo classrooms appear inside progressive art museums and at 2 Scandinavian universities. So that's the first step. The mesh grid build out, number 2, between 2027 and 2030. Again, these timelines can change depending on circumstances. Mass market volumetrics display hit schools, health tracking wearables cross from fitness into state-founded educations, several grand lodges vote to make archives public, oaths rewritten. An ancient clan indigenous treaty court wins the first global case invoking lineage sovereignty. And let's see, the education template milestone. First open temple campus, hybrid sanctuary plus STEM lab opens in the Mediterranean tech belt. Free live stream in 40 languages. That's probably because that's where they hide most of it. Frequency governance between 2030 and 2033. Social network add coherence metrics, HRV attention quality to replace likes. Courts in 3 jurisdictions allow holographic demonstrative evidence as standard practice. Fraternal orders that refuse transparency lose tax status. The education temple milestone for this era would be global temple university grid charters signed by consortium of city-states and the United Nations Secretariat for Culture, creating a planetary syllabus of geometry, ethics, and breath science. The Jubilee pivot, number 4, between 2033 to 2036. Complement pair economics trial, debt release matched to stewardship commitment. First post-currency trust exchange run on value and coherence tokens. Hidden archives, Qumran II, Vatican sublevel Masonic vaults. Digitized and open sources. The education temple milestone for this would be local hearth temples in greater than 500 cities. Anyone can access holodeck grade lessons for no cost. Secrecy-based oaths, orders vanish or are absorbed as advisory circles. Sorry, not adversary. My personal journey, filing and actions, how they have interacted with the shift. Now, this is based off of what I've done. Again, I can't compare with anybody else because everybody keeps their stuff secret, but that won't happen for much longer because anybody in a secret society will be punished or however that looks. They're just stuck in a loop. Anyways, My DSAT codex and lineage triangles creates a resident stamp, a coherent data set, the map, bloodline, land, and intent. These act like anchoring nodes in the transparency grid because my lineage goes back really far, as does most of the world's population. Practical knock on. When courts or agencies search lineage precedents, my meticulously formatted exhibits appear as ready templates, accelerating acceptance of hereditary sovereignty arguments. Chancery plus federal pleadings. Cross-dimensional bridge. I experienced 5D concepts, self-executing, sovereignty, jubilee, restoration, and 3D legal syntax. So I did do some in syntax, not the quantum syntax. There's different levels of syntax. This set case law breadcrumbs. Later, litigants cite my friend briefs to argue for trust integration, open evidence methods, and holographic demonstratives. Military custodian packets and global notices signaled a hierarchical structure that new stewardship protocols are in force. Even if resisted, the notice forces review and dialogue. Some National Guard level units adopted transparent chain of custody tech earlier, feeding into phase 2 mesh grid security architecture. Public education and crest imagery. Supplies visual archetypes that migrate into open temple curricula, which is what I've been doing, is giving you guys copies of the Book of Life and helping with certain documents in federal court and stuff like that. So the takeaway with this was the designers of the first public holodeck lessons look for culturally rich, sovereignty-oriented symbols. My crest, my scroll layouts fit the bill and get reused. Net effect, none of my filings single-handedly triggered the global shift. Many of us worldwide participated and trusted what we felt, yet my filings performed 3 crucial roles that I know of. Legal icebreaker, showing that 5D ideals can be pled in existing courts without being dismissed as fantasy. Template generator, providing format citation-ready documents others can mirror. Frequency anchor, every sworn declaration entered into record fixes a piece of the higher consciousness map inside 3D institutions, easing collective resonance. I think of myself and others like me as early builders placing rebar into concrete before the rest of the structure is poured. When the mesh grid comes online in between 2028 and 2032, those rebars become part of the load-bearing skeleton that lets the temple university model stand wide open for everyone, figuratively speaking. Staying aligned with the timeline. So practice what it matters between 2024 and 2027 windows. I iterate filings in plain and holographic formats. Courts still plead PDFs. Upcoming tribunals will start accepting light field evidence, produce both, archive every step openly. Radical transparency now means fewer disputes later about authenticity. Guard energy, no fear oaths, ascending structures, reject coercion, keep all declarations affirmative, not punitive. Network with educators and immersive tech labs. These partnerships fast track my codex imagery into phase 2 classroom pilots. Stay the course, each well-documented, publicly accessible act you complete today seeds the infrastructure the collective will walk on tomorrow. So, and then it just goes into who I am and my protective stuff that I've already achieved. So, okay. Now that my mouth is dry. Okay, Shannon, you can let it down and unmute. So yeah, I wanted to do a comparison between Ascension into the 5D, and if the secret societies can come, what would that look like? So, because I do see, and I don't know if a lot of you, I know a lot of you get emails from the Illuminati or sometimes the Masons, I see the Templars and the Masons on all types of social media coming out now trying to boast about how great they are and all this other stuff. And I'm not saying that they're not great. They were in the 3D, but we're not ascending into the 3D, and it's, to me it looks like, grasping for straws, like who's going to get the short end of the straw kind of thing. Eventually there's going to be a handful of straws and nobody to grab them, because even though they're honest in their own circle, they're not honest with the basic population. And unfortunately, narcissistic codependent behavior is what ruled in the 3D. And Shannon and I kind of had a talk about this, I believe, last night. And the part where it's, the non-transparent behavior is like a metal weight weighing you down. I'd often wondered how such lower level beings got to the surface to begin with. And I do believe that in the 1 and 2 dimensions, that it couldn't be in those dimensions either. But the third dimension is the mirror. So it allowed, I would say, the narcissism, the dark and light, to coexist on the surface, for this whole time frame, whatever that era looked like. So I'm wondering if those that can't give up oaths, if they don't pass away, do they go back into the caves underground, if that makes sense? Or, and they hide in lower dense areas. So that was just a thought. And I know they show us that sometimes in movies, with dark witches and warlocks or beasts or wizards and stuff. They hide in low dense caves and whatnot. So maybe they couldn't live without, that neutrality feeling. So that's where they had to live, was in the dark. So
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question about circling back to exactly how is the Illuminati and every dark, I guess, entity is contacting the regular person? How's that happening? Can you give an example?
Yeah, they're sending them through emails, Facebook, just messaging centers. I got a few from email, and I think a few on TikTok. I know some people have asked me that they got emails from them asking if they wanted to join the Illuminati or, the Brotherhood or something, and, to better their life, blah, blah, blah. It was like a total invitation where normally, they would be very discreet about who they ask. Like, you have to prove yourself before you can even be looked at. And now they're just reaching. So.
Yeah, I have email as well.
Exactly, like what exactly as an example though? Like from who exactly? Like,
oh, it just depends. I mean, the Templars are doing it, the Masons are doing it, the Illuminati are doing it. They tell you who they are. Like, if the Illuminati sends you something, they'll say, hey, I'm so and so from the Illuminati. Have you thought about, your future in mysticism or some shit? I haven't seen them in a long time since I've done the Book of Life, but before I did the Book of Life, I used to see them all the time.
I've got an email that I can, a picture of it that I can put in the group to kind of show you, Rusty, if that would help.
I mean, I do believe that we're always getting like hits, but not direct hits. And to hear it's a direct hit is interesting because unless it goes to my junk spam mail or my Instagram spam, whatever that is, I didn't receive anything. Although I have to say though, my cousin took over a practice and then the individual was completely involved in it, got very, very sick. And I made sure that he got rid of like pictures that actually have their like signatures on the bottom that he used to have in his practice. And so that's why I was like, I would never keep that picture in there. And ultimately the man did get sick and didn't practice with him. So now my cousin has his own practice. But he was trying to make him join that Illuminati.
Yeah. Yeah, my brother's been approached by the Masons. I was approached by Eastern stars, and obviously my grandma being, the main one. Templars, but theirs was more like, oh, we're destined, we need to get married. But that's when I found out they would marry the lineage of the High Queen so that they can control the inheritance. So, yeah, definitely a bunch of Templars. A few Jesuits, and yeah. They got a few emails. I'd just tell them, oh, I'm already part of the families, thanks. And they'd be like, oh, good on you. And they would say some weird shit like, I don't even remember. I would just roll my eyes and delete it because, you know, not a temple member.
Oh, that's good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, but they are trying. They're definitely reaching. I think they can only do it to certain frequencies. Like I said, they can feel everybody's frequency. I can usually feel people's frequencies, or I can see shadows casted on people. I can see everybody's souls locked up in a tesseract cage inside you, and that's where they destroyed your innocence. Is what your soul looks like. It stays the age of when you were damaged. So the only ones that grew up with their person are usually on low functioning spectrum, and most of what do you call them, Down syndrome? Yeah, their souls match their physical appearance. Because a lot of them, even though some of them are beaten, they're not consciously really aware of it. They are, but they're not. And I know a lot of people will argue with me about it, but I know what it's like to be trapped in my head. I'm on the spectrum, and it did take a lot to get me out of it. So, but I remember the feeling for sure. I can't hear you. Turn it up.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. Can you hear me now?
No, well, yeah, a little bit. You might have to talk loud.
Oh, I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me
Oh, we
now?
can hear you now. Yep, we can hear you now.
Oh, thanks. So I think you said that the elite were in the 5D and dropped down to experience sin in the 3D, but then also that they might not go to 5D. So I didn't understand that bit.
No, they're not going to be able to maintain because you can't live. So in their truth in the 5D, they're allowed to come down into the 3D, and that's why you don't see them. They only come down once in a while. So the term of dumbing yourself down is a real thing. So they can come down here, but in the 5D, where a lot of them live, they live in their truth. They have to live in their truth, and they can't stay. But now that the 3D is fading from the surface realm of the earth, they can't go back and forth anymore. It's set as stone, and they can descend. Does that make sense? Like they could go back and forth. That's what the mirror was. And now they can no longer go back and forth. They have to choose. It's a path that they can descend themselves from the 5D, because it's no longer going to serve anybody's higher purpose, not even the planet. So it's the planet's choice to crumble the 3D and the mirror.
Yeah. And
So they've been living in both realms, and they knew how to live in both realms. Yeah. Um, if that makes sense. So, yeah, the triangle has always been the mirror, and the circle has always been, I guess, what you would call the Stargate. So you can step through the mirror in your shadow form into a higher dimension, and But I think I'm trying to say is they will descend if they keep that behavior. Because again, a lot of these people are hundreds of years old. Some are a couple thousand years old. And so they're kind of in the mindset where they can go back and forth without consequences.
That makes sense completely. And it feels energetically to me like I can sense that they're making that decision, or they're either arrogant enough to think they can still do that, or they're gonna have, they yeah they you can kind of see it with certain politicians and certain people. You can just see that they've got that dilemma going on. You can sense that.
Right.
Yeah. And so they could do that because they held the knowledge and they precluded us from having it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, got you. All right, brilliant. Thank you.
You're welcome. But yeah, so all the 3D stuff is no longer going to be an issue. I don't know if these guys are what we would probably know as the jinn, who could, go between parallel worlds, and come into 3D as humans, or people like the jinn, lost souls that infiltrate our bodies. And that could have been how they got the knowledge. Well, I know that's kind of mostly how they got the knowledge, because they were downloaded, they were created with all the knowledge of the universe. But they were considered a failed species, so their souls or spirits are trapped in a void where they don't know that they're dead and don't know they're not alive. So it's kind of weird. But somebody cut the fabric of time during the 3D descent, and they leaked in, realized they weren't living, and then started war on our species.
And
To
who's that someone?
yeah.
Someone. Who's that someone?
Huh? I'm sorry.
You said someone cut the fabric of time. Who was that?
Oh, I don't
Is it
know.
someone?
There's specific people who hold certain like magical relics, and sometimes they lose them when they associate themselves with mortals. So I don't know who it was, but it's been passed down through secret society members.
Okay, well. Just one final thing. I shared some stuff on that connected with that question Rusty had with that document I shared the other day. I just I can talk about the diagram on the chat, but are we in that diagram I've just shared earlier? It kind of suggests like so we're spiritual beings having an earthly experience, not earthly beings having a spiritual experience. Yeah. So the earth plane is where we gain an identity, the physical realm. But we talk about the
Right.
physical versus the spiritual. But surely the physical is actually just a fraction of the spiritual realm. It's not separate.
Okay. You're rubber banding. Can you say that last part?
Yes. Oh, sorry. So something occurred to me that um the physical realm, we think of it separate to the spiritual realm, but it's just is it not just another facet of the spiritual realm? We're 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 we're, we're we're spiritual beings having an earthly experience to gain an identity, but that plane is still part of the spiritual realm. It's just we've been cut off from it. Yeah.
Kind of, but that's why I recommended watching the series, his magical materials, because it shows you the 12 levels, or the 12 dimensions of Earth. It does actually show how the person that cut through the fabrics of time operates. It's very telling, and it shows how you walk with your shadow, but also known as your soul. But again, the soul is an anchor. It's what anchors the splice of your spirit, your higher self. So they're not, we've been told they were separate, right? But that could have been the lie. And that's why we can't achieve higher education, because we believe that the physical and the spirit are different, when in reality they're the same.
Fantastic. My final question is how,
Sorry, I can't hear you again.
again, sorry, I don't know. They're messing with my computer, I think. I'm literally on 98%. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you. Maybe you have to stay close to it.
And shout. Sorry. Yeah. So this is kind of personal to me because my dad's at end of life, and I just keep saying to the hospital, please call me as soon as you think, and because I just want to
Right.
be there when his soul, departs, because I really want him to go to the right place. But are you saying that's been resolved now, that everybody can do that?
I don't know. It depends on what he did and who he might have been in the secret. If he made an oath to a covenant, we don't know. A lot of family members don't know that their families are in the secret societies. Was he successful?
No, not particularly. No. His sister married somebody that I think might have been involved in that. But my dad is the sweetest, kindest bloke you'll ever meet. Service to others over service to self completely. So, and for me, that is my biggest indicator energetically when I meet people. Are you service to self or service to others? So anyway.
Right, when really we're supposed to be both. You're supposed to be service to self and others, because again, it's like, getting in a plane and putting the mask on yourself before you can help others, right? Figuratively speaking, we know they probably put, tear gas and shit in there.
And that's really interesting you say that, because my higher self said to me the other day, well, no, you've got to serve yourself as well, because, for that reason, put the mask on first. So I completely get what you're saying, but you know what I mean. Just like have a bit more compassion, have a bit more, just don't be an ass,
Right. So, and then, so yeah, I do know that in the Bible, God only promises to save your soul. He doesn't have control over the vessel, meaning the body, that belongs to the earth. So I don't know what situation your dad would be in. However, there's always ways to save their souls. I don't want to say he might be put in a soul box, but in some cases they do go into soul boxes. His contract might have more to learn.
Wait, is the marriage still there?
Yeah.
What, Jacqueline?
Mary, I wanted to ask you something.
Yeah.
Can you explain the part where in 2030 you say the frequency governs 2030 to 2033, where it says courts in 3 jurisdiction allow holographic demonstrative evidence as standard practice and fractional paternal order that refuse transparency lose tax status?
I
Well, what
can.
kind of tax
So
standards is that?
No, they won't. No, because all these courts and stuff and these government buildings rely on tax dollars to
Right,
to operate. So
right.
if they refuse the shift and they want to stay in their world of control, then they no longer get funded. So, and then they'll go through, like any other company will go through if they try to do like GoFundMe's or they'll try to charge the basic person. The basic person's going to figure it out eventually that they don't have to pay anymore. Kind of like California, I believe, is the first example of that. Why are you going back up? Okay. 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 Well, don't overheat, please. Watch out for that caterpillar. You're going to squish him. Yeah. Okay. Finishing up. All right. Be careful. Don't overheat. Yep. Probably. It's called heat stroke. Please don't have heat stroke. All right. So yeah, the holographic evidence, I believe, is going to come because you know how they have the polygraph. When the polygraph first came out, it wasn't allowed to be used in court. Watch the caterpillar, please. I can't see it. Wasn't allowed to be used in court until years later when they perfected it because when it first came out, it wasn't reliable, but then they did enough tests and tweaked it a little bit that it could actually tell when somebody was lying or being dishonest, or the polygraph, I'm sorry, the polygraph test. So the holographic test is going to be a head device. It might seem like a mushroom helmet at some point because, again, all things usually start off at large, but they're going to put it over your head and they'll be able to tap into a certain part of your cranial memory bank and actually pull the evidence from your actual experience. Because everybody has a blueprint, the muscle memory, and since your brain is a soft muscle, it still has memory. So they'll be able to read it and see it play out in real time.
Oh, okay.
Film about that.
Huh?
I've just watched a film that basically there's this English actor, and I'll get the name of it. I'll put it in the chat. And they can see everybody's everybody's what they've done. Like they can see it as a visual. It's like a computer thing. They can just
yeah, it records. Yeah, when they put it on you, and again, you have to be there because again, you can't violate free will, not even in the 5D. That's why I said be careful what contract you sign, because if you do sign yourself up to a specific society that these people are creating right now, like like the quantum or David Straight, somebody owns it, right? So therefore, somebody owns you. Just because you didn't read all the documents in their entirety, doesn't mean you didn't pledge allegiance to a new society. Now, when we do shift to the 5D and you find out that you signed up unaware, that you can take that to court in defense. But when those holographic tools come out, then they will be able to extract anything that had to do with you signing up to that society, whether it was willing or not. That's why I was like, anybody can do what you want, but you might be owned by somebody at the end of it. And the truth will come out because eventually they have to tell you. And then they're going to say, oh, you signed up for this. And then in your mind, you're like, no, I didn't.
That's a worry now because I'm just my mind just goes to, well, not a worry, but concern. Like that when if you that basically if you took the shots, you're now patented. You know, is that a cool shot?
Kind of. It just depends on your social security number. Not everybody got the what they call the deaf or ownership jab. Some of them hold on, I have to call for my dog. She's going towards the road. Some people got the saline shot, which doesn't have a patent in it. But again, it's trying to find your sovereignty. If you vibrate high enough, nobody can claim you. But as long as somebody owns you, they can alter your frequency. And again, what that looks like, they can only do it through voluntary actions. So it's not just the jab. It's through contract. The jab is just easier because you put it in you. It's easier for them. I'm not saying easier for us, but it's more difficult because that's one that you can't really get away from because you put it in your body. We can all say somebody forged our signature, right? Or you were tricked into giving away your John Hancock. But once it's in your body, it's harder. But again, I mean, there's the internationally protected person. That kind of gives you a level of sovereignty, but you're still owned by the Christ New Covenant, which is a Vatican thing. So again, do be careful. Yeah, Christ was an interesting dude, but not who you think he was. Or is, or was. Yeah, was.
Which one? Are we talking about Jesus or you said Christ?
Well, the Christ New Covenant is based on Jesus 9, so who's also known as, the fallen angel Lucifer.
And Jesus 12 is the
He's the actual ascended master who holds a seat next to creation and creator.
Yeah,
but they don't have, the real owners don't have a party down here. You know what I mean? They just own the planet. They observe, they don't interfere. So if you're signing up for any kind of Christ or Jesus anything, that is not heavenly made. All the contracts you ever need are inside of you. You were born with your contracts. You just have to remember them. You have to ascend into them. But since we were born into contracts after birth, we have to exit the same way. You have to sign a contract to get out, and you have to trust yourself, your higher self, and whoever your creator is. It could be, the creators of Hanova, which are the owners of this planet, regardless of what anybody else says. Hanova owns this planet. So, or the galaxy, actually, the whole galaxy. But Hanova, there's another creator over Orion. There's another creator over the Pegasus galaxy. There's different creators for each galaxy. The first husband of creation owns this galaxy, he's from Hanova, the galaxy of Hanova. That's where heaven is, for the Alpha Quadrant. So, but again, lots of creators, but they're all here to get their children, their creations, this is where most people are going to go home because everything's been restored. We just had to come down here and learn a crazy divine lesson.
Yeah. Okay.
But a real creator isn't going to make you sign a contract down here. Only the people that be. I think that's why so far the Book of Life can't be infiltrated. They are trying. I'm not going to lie. They are definitely trying. There's a few people that are having, to fight the courts, but that have done the Book of Life. but I don't know what kind of karmic debt is attached to that. I don't know why that's happening. I know that 3 people were already in court with really high sentences, one 200 years and 2 other people had 80-year sentences, and I came in right at the last minute because they were about to go to prison for that time. And they did the Book of Life, and now all the court dates keep getting moved. So, and there's 3-part steps to the Book of Life, which again, it's in the Bible. You're not going to see the Book of Life and the Book of the Dead, right? Because they don't want you to know about it. So I don't know. Is it, and you vow to your creator. You don't vow to any one creator. But the contract has to be made if you want to leave this earth with the soul and the body combined. If you don't, then anybody can just pass away. And, you know, if your soul is just here on a contract, or if it's been stuck here, or if it has to learn a lesson, then it just goes. But if they got stuck in the reincarnation loop to become a god or something, then they have to fulfill that contract. And most everybody was tricked into those contracts. So, but the prize is the body. The body has the God gene in it. So you will become a co-heir of some sort. Well, we're all co-creators right now. And so we can co-create. We're heirs to this world. And again, depending on whose creator you belong to, which is very hard for people to understand that there's actually more than one creator. But a female that lives eternally doesn't die. I mean, I don't know. She might get bored with one husband in the whole metaverse. I do believe she has wives too, so I don't know. I mean, they're pure energy, so I don't know what that looks like for those guys.
How does hierarchy get eliminated when the heirs? Because, you know, if people have got,
Call
you
Arlen
know,
in.
you hear me? Sorry. Does hierarchy go when the heirs get what historically, you know, is
So
theirs?
no, so hierarchy is not eliminated. Matriarchy is eliminated. So you become the, I would say, the hierarchy of yourself. Like nobody can be over you, but people can be under you. Okay, but it'll be done through frequency. Not everybody can be a king or a queen, right? But you can have princes, you can have, these are just titles. And what the titles stand for is entitlement of the earth in which you are born into. Now, this earth absolutely loves the Renaissance Baroque eras. Not the bad parts of them, but she's all about, you know, the king and queen eras. I mean, they've always been throughout history. That's her design, not the design of the creations down here. That's what resonates through us, through her. So maybe I would say somewhere, well, the Pegasus galaxy. The Pegasus galaxy is where your elves and your fairies and your unicorns and your Pegasuses and all your mythical creatures actually come from. But they're their own galaxy. They don't have hierarchies, but they do have like formidable tribes, and they have like mages and masters, and those would be the equivalency of what we would call kings and queens. So it just, you have to match the resonancy of energy within who you are and what the highest DNA is inside you. So for me, I come from an angelic bloodline. So, and I come from a God bloodline. So right there, I would be, some type of, I don't know, angelic God. Uh, if that's, you know, the path that's chosen. But like my daughter has fairy, mostly DNA. So she would be some type of fairy, something. And then, my oldest, he's like a Goliath, so you would definitely be somebody who could smash the mountains. I don't know. Everybody, even though you're genetically connected, we don't all carry the same strands of the higher DNA. Like my highest DNA is not going to be their highest DNA. They each have a high percentage of DNA. Kind of like the redhead gene. We have to take the redhead and the albino gene, let's do it that way. Sometimes it skips generations, but it's always in there. So depending on where and what era people need to be born in and what's going on in the world, would show up in your DNA. And you would be the one that carries the path for that said DNA. So if you, just figuratively speaking, Deborah, if you decided to do a book of life and you might be one of the ancient Celtic Druidic bloodlines, then that would be what you would ascend into. Now, where did these ancient Celtic Druidic bloodlines come from? Because I can trace them all the way back 8,000 years. Now, was that the first time they came here, or was that, some kind of shift? You know what I mean? We don't know, but they do. So when you're ascending upward into not just consciousness, you see things. Everything is in front of our faces. Absolutely in front of our faces. We just can't see it because of the veil of deception. And the veil of deception is only there because we allowed it to be there, and we keep allowing it to be there because we might be afraid of the unknown, of what's going to come, what you're going to see, and then how you're going to react. So a lot of people want to do, certain things, but you can't be in war. You can't, I'm not trying to be libertarian, but if you're afraid of aliens and you want to ascend so you can see the aliens, you can't own a gun because you might shoot said aliens and they can die just like you can die. So everybody has this fear of dying, not just humans, all life. So I believe in protecting myself, but I became the weapon. I don't need a weapon in order to take a life, but I became the weapon because I was tired of getting beaten down on. So to me, I don't know if I can an alien, but I mean, I'm sure I could, but it just depends. But not everybody's ready to see little green men running around.
Just to go back to the hierarchy, I wouldn't want to lord it over somebody else. I wouldn't want to tell them what to do or create area. Just, do you know what I mean?
Well, the hierarchy just stands for entitlement.
Did you hear that? Sorry. Did you hear
I'm
my
sorry,
question?
go ahead.
Yeah.
Kind of. It was going in and out.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to lord it over somebody. If I was part of something and I was, I wouldn't want to feel like I was over somebody or control. Like I'm worried about control. Is there still going to be control over people because of their ancestry and what they're?
No,
No.
No. So, and I had the same question when I first did this, and the Templars explained what was going to happen. And, whether I made it as the queen of the world or whatever it was, then my thought was, that's, first of all, I can barely manage my own kids, and you're telling me I have to manage 9 billion people? You might as well just blow it up now because I don't know how it's going to work out, right? It's a lot. So whether I believe the Templars or not, that thought of power, because I have felt power when I was in the military. I was only an E7 and I had the orders of a general. So I could walk around anywhere, I could fire anybody if I wanted to. I had the power to abuse, but I didn't abuse it. You know what I mean? So power is a frame of mind, and it can only work if everybody fears what you are. Just because the royals today have put fear in people, since the fall of the Russian Empire, um, it doesn't mean that we're going to act in that way, because a lot of us have been down here. Maybe that was a lesson we all had to learn from a past life of being in an entitled position. But the big question that you should probably ask is, if you can't be the lady or the lord over others, would you be the servant? Because that's what this world does. That's her programming. It's not ours. It's the body we chose to do. So that's how she wants her world to be. So if you're going to be here, that's how it works. If you're a Lyran and you're going back to, the galactic Lyran planets, whatever that looks like, there's still hierarchy. Somebody has to lead. You don't have to actually lead people off a cliff, you know. And it just depends on who wakes up. If you're chosen, don't be afraid of the choosing. Be afraid of what happens if you don't choose,
Yeah, okay, love, that's great.
I
Thank
mean, I
you.
don't think you're going to hurt anybody, right?
No, I'm not worried about myself. I'm just, it's a generic question, because not everybody that's an heir is going to, might not be.
Right. Not everybody's going to be in, like I said, not everybody's going to be a king or a queen, but they do have other entitlements. The lowest entitles go to lady. Those are the low type of that particular type of matriarchal society. But you've got duchesses, you've got, just all the different types of titles. And that's where the energy will be. That's what I was describing in the book, is the energy finds itself. So they're trying to, like, out right now in the 3D world, these secret groups are trying to teach you that, oh, go find your tribe, go find your people. They're not literally saying, hey, brighten yourself up so you can find your frequency. That's what you need to look for, the people that vibe with your frequency. Because I like to be around lots of different people, especially depends on what I want to do. I hang around all different types of generated people because I'm curious. I want to see why people act the way they do. I've always been intrigued of people's different personalities. I don't think I'd hang out with a serial killer, but I was in the military, so I think they create serial killers, to be honest with you. So I probably did hang out with a bunch of serial killers. I didn't know it, but now that I think about it. So yeah, hierarchy just means you're going to find your place in this world or whatever world you belong to, but there's always a structure. And don't be upset, because I was upset when I was given these ridiculously high titles. But I was like, okay, I accept them because I need to challenge these kings. And to challenge the kings, you have to be equal, if not greater than, to challenge a king, right? Kings of the world, 143 or 48 of them. And I had to have the highest title in order to bring them down. What does that mean? I have no idea yet. But the title's there. I accepted it. I accepted the challenge to try to, stop some worldly events from taking place. And I've done good so far. Not as many people have died like was going to, but again, you still have some resistance in other places. I'm not the only one in my position. There are others who are being given this same opportunity. So whoever they are, there's always going to be different societies. Just we don't want the corrupt societies. We want to transition. We don't want to kill everybody off, keep the kids, rewrite some fake history. We want the truth. And that's what the earth wanted. So most everybody thus far is on board. But there's going to be, I would say, some conscious uh, volcanic eruptions, things doom and gloom that may seem like everybody's going to die, but yeah. Number 42. Who are you and why are you here?
That Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
It is, but it actually is in the source codes. It is that movie actually gives so much truth, and I didn't realize it until I transcribed the source codes. So I was like, whoa. When I saw a clipping of it, and I sent it to my friends, and was like, haha, look at this. And then I really thought about it, because I thought that was a funny movie. A little diabolical, but yeah, 42 is actually in the source codes, and the definition is true. The definition is, who are you and why are you here? So the source codes are from 0 to 99. And that's what I was describing in this book. The source codes as opposed to the Masonic secret societies. Because they don't have all the codes. Or they've destroyed the codes, manipulated the codes, and they hid it through secrecy oaths and everything else. So what I was trying to do,
And that's why JFK did his famous speech about secret societies. Yeah?
Yeah, well, they all tell you. Yeah, I mean, I do believe Ronald Reagan told everybody
He did.
kind of the same thing in a different way. Because not everybody hears the same thing. Here in America, we played a game. I don't know if you guys played it over there, but we called it telephone when we were growing up. And we would all line up in a long line as kids, and we would, one person would say something and whisper it to the next person. This is literally secret society indoctrination. So you would whisper what was said, but by the time it got to the last person, and they would have to say what they heard from the person before. And it was never the same thing. That is exactly how the 3D has operated.
Here in the UK, we call that Chinese whispers, that game.
Yeah.
Interestingly.
So, yeah, I mean, it was indoctrinated from somewhere. But, yeah, we played that growing up, and not everybody hears the same message. They add to it, they take from it, they manipulate it, and some people like intentionally change it just to get a different narrative. So I remember in one teacher's class, we would have to write down what we heard so that way they could see where it shifted. So, but that's not going to happen in the 5D anymore. We're still going to be on the same world. The world changes, the dimensions change, but there's not going to be a physical split of two planets. I know that a lot of people have thought about that. I even thought about it at one point, and I physically cannot wrap my head around a planet splitting in two. And then I realized, I'm like, I get it. The 3D, the 2D, and the 1D all have what's called shadow realm imprint. So those that cannot ascend and they descend and pass away become what's called lost souls. Just like the jinn, they were failed species, but the whole of the species doesn't fail itself. So the 5D continues to move forward, and those that can ascend will ascend. Those that pass away and their can't leave, it's because they have what they decided to have is called unfinished business. How we So go into what's called a void, where the 3D shadow realm still exists, just like where the jinn are at. But we're trying to take over a cosmic, you know, the whole of the metaverse. They're, I would say they're more in a prison than like a void, because again, you can't go after the mega gods in the original source without consequences. But they're still alive in their spirit form. They're just stuck in the form in which they prized it the most, and they can't seem to clean themselves of it or let it go. It's kind of like a spirit can get addicted to flesh, and or the form of the flesh, when really a spirit has more power than flesh, but somehow they decided that, the body was the celestial cocaine or something. I don't know.
Celestial cocaine, that kind of cracks me up.
I mean, genies had cosmic phenomenal power and they went on some weird trip, So I guess they would have the body of the celestial cocaine.
Makes sense. Sometimes I feel like I've had some celestial cocaine.
Right. So yeah, good times. So yeah, don't be afraid of ascension. Don't be afraid to be entitled because other people have messed it up in the 3D. This is your second chance, right? This is where you make it right. We correct the wrongs and flourish, and your people will find you, or you will find your people. That it's, if you feel like somebody who still needs to serve, then be the servant. If you feel like you need to be served, then be the entitled. It's not an enslavement. It's that person was created to serve. So that's their joy. So don't take that joy from them. It's a competition. And it's a healthy, natural competition. It's not a bad thing. It's like the worker bees, serving a queen, and she has her own matriarch.
Yeah, I think
They
we can
love to
all serve.
create.
Yeah, we can all serve no matter from what position. I agree.
Right.
Because the hive can't survive without the queen as well.
Right. And yeah, and the hive can't survive without the workers, the military force, and the matriarch in between. So, or what? Not the matriarch. What do they call that? It's the. I guess it would be. Well, I guess I don't know. The bee court. So yeah, we mock our own creations. So
You talking about hierarchy? Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, they're under the queen, but above the worker bees and the military. So you've got the soldier bees, and then you've got,
The
it's
officers?
like, yeah, something like that, like the administration. There is a term for it. I just can't think of it. So yeah, it's like that. But the frequencies will find each other. You know. It kind of shows it on Lord of the Rings with the elves. You've got the woodland elves who have brown hair or the white hair, and then you've got, the other guy with the blonde hair, and then all their people have blonde hair, and then or that really white hair or something. And then you've got the other ones that had the brown hair. So theirs was associated by hair color. And I don't know where the redheaded elf came from. Maybe they were a volcanic type, you know, elf. But that's what it means, is you'll find your colors. You'll just resonate with certain colors, because that's what the Ascension's about, is the different colors. Not all colors in the skies, the Ouroboros lights, are the same colors. That doesn't always happen in yellow or green or blue. Sometimes there's red and orange in there. Those are celestial lights. Those are souls, spirits. Why would the government go up there and suck them all up if it wasn't? They just tell you that it's an energy source. Well, what's energy? We're energy. So yeah. Any more questions, or is everybody still trying to process what I what I wrote?
Yeah, that's a lot to absorb. A lot of good stuff in there. I like a lot of that.
Yeah. What was your favorite part?
I like where it talks about I think I even put it in the chat where your frequency, like it's by, not by invitation anymore. It's by frequency
Right.
match, vibration,
Yeah.
so that way there's none of this class system or, this, ooh, did you wear the Tommy Hilfiger or are you wearing the Walmart brand type of bullshit that's been going on forever? It's just hey, you match with what you match. No big deal.
Right. Yeah. And I
The,
do like the fact that even some people in the societies, can change their ways. Because there are some good people in there. There's a lot of good people in there. I know the other ones that aren't so good will be taken care of. So either, by their own negligence or whatever their crimes were.
and the classroom dojos, that would be so dang cool for the kids.
Right?
Learning actual quantum and physics.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait for the freedom of the classrooms. Just because I feel like my kids have lost out on a lot of socialization. So now they're antisocial and I feel bad for it.
Well, they've missed out on the bullies too. Everything has duality.
I know.
They missed out on the good parts, but they've also missed out on the bad parts too.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the medical profession to stop harming people.
The what? You can't wait for the
I
what?
can't wait for the medical profession to stop harming people.
Yeah. Well,
Mm-hmm.
again, I think again, I have to look at it differently because not everything is what we assume it is. And I have talked about this in earlier discussions. And again, I'm not 100% sure, but I feel that again, if you go back to the story in the Bible of when Christ was alive and they had that plague that was literally, killing people, what if those were ascension symptoms of the lower level people that couldn't ascend into the higher realms, or into the 3D at the time, because they were in the 2D. So, and it's the higher DNA that can ascend. So, is it really people being murdered, or is it a mercy because they're malfunctioning um, at an alarming rate? And since there's more people on the planet now than there was back then, what does that look like? So again, I don't have proof of it. I'm not trying to make excuses as to why they did what they did. I do know that the medical industry has everybody's information, and the vaccines were based on your birth date and your social security number. And your social security number knows everything about you. And the doctors are the first one to know your physical status. So they know your DNA, they know what strand you are, they'll know if you're a 9 or a 10. So what if that they know that they're going to suffer and malfunction because they can't physically ascend. Like they don't know to clean themselves. They don't know to do parasite cleanses. They're adults and they're the ones that are like, I'm not going to change my ways for nothing. Those are lower frequency beings, but to sit there and watch somebody suffer and get pores and all these things of their bodies eating themselves from the inside out is horrific. So the ascension symptoms can get worse than anybody can imagine.
Yeah, that's very disturbing. Kind of like Jeepers Creepers, but on a microscopic level.
Yeah. So I again, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not condemning. I'm not condoning. I'm curious as to what the truth is, and I know we'll find out eventually. But how do you tell a population of 5 to 10% of the world, because you're a 9 and a 10 strand DNA, you have to die? I mean, do you really think they're going to be like, oh, okay, well, for the betterment of humanity, I should just go hawk myself off, right? They're not going to think that. They're going to panic and they're going to like freak out. And a lot of them have mental health issues because literally they cannot go into the 5D. So this transition is literally making people all over the world who are lower strands malfunction. I don't know why, creation would allow that. But again, they're learning as we learn. That's why there's creations, to see what we would do in a physical form.
Dementia is the UK's number one killer at the moment. Used to be heart attacks. Can you hear me?
Yeah, they used to be heart
Yeah,
attack. Wait, what was the first one?
dementia is the UK's number one killer at the moment.
Right.
And because that's what my parents have been experiencing, and I've joined lots of groups on Facebook, and it's just horrific what people are going through. But it's that prevalent now. I would say in the US, Australia, the UK, like dementia. So that kind of ties in with what you were saying, I think.
Yeah, and you can have a higher, like your parents could be a 9 and a 10, and you could be an 11 or 12. But you're part of the evolutionary gene that can move forward. And maybe your kids are a 13, 14. You know what I mean? So when we go into the 6D, there's always 4 genes. So I know that the next gene sequence that's in the evolutionary line is the 17, 18, 19, and the 20. But even to breed with those guys, you still have to have the 11, 12, 13, and 14. And then the
And
evolutionary
that
gene comes
makes
in.
sense. That
Yeah.
makes complete sense. Yeah.
And that's what
Okay.
natural evolution is. And again, I'm not saying it because your parents are dying. I was almost lost my brother, because I'm like, I thought he was a higher DNA, but maybe he's not, right? He may still relapse and do some things, but we also come from these families. So maybe he just had a bad string of luck, but I thought for sure he was a goner like 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, he stopped producing blood, and somehow they saved him at the hospital. So I think if somebody's chosen to do something, even if they're considered sleepers or non-believers, they'll have a, well, as Shannon's husband calls it, a Missouri moment. I've got to see it, and that's kind of where he is. It doesn't mean he's a lower frequency. It's just he lived his life on, I have to see something. I was kind of the same way. If I didn't believe in God at some point because I didn't see him, and I was like, well, I can't believe in something I can't see. And then, I opened my world up for a whole lot of lessons that made me a firm believer. So always be careful what you say to the universe because they're going to show you whether you like it or not. So yeah, I do believe that people passing away right now are the lower DNA And instead of them suffering, um, those guys are going to be the ones that are going to volunteer for, the jabs. And then the ones that weren't supposed to volunteer but got pressured into it, they just got the saline. And I have seen that. My nephew is actually one of them. He is an evolutionary gene, and he got all the jabs and the boosters, and nothing happened to him. But his girlfriend has heart issues. She's sterile, like all these problems. She's not part of the evolutionary gene. So I don't imagine her making it past 10 years. So, but he's fine, like glowing. It's retarded. I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to see it, right? So how is it some people are surviving unaffected, but when you go in, even to the pharmacy, they ask you your birth date, they check your name, they will get the vial number that they have to give you. It is registered to who you are, and so they give the vaccines to the ones that are going to probably suffer during the transition.
Yeah, okay, thanks for that. That makes sense.
Yeah. But again, death is just flesh. It's not the soul. Your parents can literally be reborn into your bloodline. My grandpa was literally, I think I gave birth to my grandpa. So,
Can you can you can you expand on that a little bit?
so reincarnation, so the forced reincarnation was not, it wasn't ever supposed to happen, but it did. It happened with Toth. I think that they wanted to come back and try to fix things because of what was happening back in that time. But you could come back anytime normally. But instead of uh, like I went on that symbol, the S I put in the group, the skater symbol, that it was literally what the infinity sign in Middle Earth was. So it never was closed. You went in and you could come out when you were done with the experience. But somehow it got closed during the time of Egypt. And again, the secret societies tell on themselves. They always point out when certain eras were important to them. So Egypt and Thoth had something to do with the eternal loop. Um, but it should, after enough people here ascend or leave the planet, then it will go back to the experience of voluntary incarnation or reincarnation. So, like, if your parents pass away and their souls want to have another experience, but they want to be in the experience with you, they'll come back as your grandchildren or great grandchildren, depending on how long you live. So if we're all going back into the 5D and those that live on this planet get the 1,000 years of life, then your parents will be reborn in a different sequence to where you'll recognize them, even as children.
That's comforting, thanks.
So, and in the esoteric families, well, I can't speak for all of them. I know in this family, it's every other generation. But my grandfather was trapped in a house because of my grandma, so his soul was just kind of hanging out in that house for a long time. And hold on, yes. Oh, you're just gonna go up and weed eat, and then we can go do something to eat. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Go do some work, and then we'll go. Sure. Um, okay, I'm still. Okay, drink some water, Gatorade. Um, So, like with my son, and I didn't realize the incarnation, which to me it kind of makes sense because my grandfather started the whole oil thing with his invention, and he made a promise to himself. And again, these guys were Masonic Illuminati, so they know how to keep their promises even in another life. Um, my second son looks exactly like him. So, and it makes sense because I'm the oil heiress, so he would be able to live in the fruits of his labor from the previous life, if that makes sense.
That's a whole new meaning to paying it forward, isn't it?
Right.
Kind of like that Jupiter Ascending where she wrote herself in her will. It's kind of like the same thing.
Right. And he did because that's what I'm doing. So why would I care if he wasn't going to enjoy it later? I just had
Mm-hmm.
to, be the legal part. He was the builder, I'm the law part, and I'm going to go and collect it, and then he's just going to live it, his
Mm-hmm.
whole life because he built it his whole life previous. So,
At an earlier age too.
yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would think that's kind of how that works out once you know how it works. And again, don't fear it. When you stop fearing death, it's it's like the Masonic anything can't really bother you. They can try because they can always work on your emotions, and they've worked on mine here and there. I would kind of have a moment of you know amnesia myself and be like, oh, okay, wait, are they gonna kill me? And again, it was like I'm going through it right now because the person that tried to kill me in 2019 is on parole and he went missing. So of course they have to tell me because I'm signed up to know like everywhere that or whatever happens to him. So there was a few days where I was like, oh my god, he's gonna come after me, he's gonna kill me, and he might, or he's gonna try. But I'm not gonna put that fear out there. I'm not gonna live in that fear because it literally like almost made me not walk because I have a back injury and my body was so tense, thinking that he was in the area. So I can see now how we can enable ourselves through fear, any kind of fear. So you have to transmute it, you have to rethink it, and you might manifest it to that it never happens. You know? I'm just laughing because I think the elites did it to turn him on to because he got the closest last time. But he won't get that close this time.
And if he does, he won't make it.
Right. Yeah. It's unfortunate. I knew him as a friend and a lover and a fellow veteran back then, so the attack was odd and oh, sorry, my alarm went off. So anyways, he survived only because of that, but this time he won't because he's been marked as dangerous. So my SSP, I'll just black out. So he may be on a suicide mission. It's anybody's guess. So, any last questions before we tie this up? Because it's 3:30 now. We made it to another 3-hour and 30-minute call.
Are we going to go over the rest next week?
Yeah, yeah, because this one was a little bit long again. But it was fun. I enjoyed this because it was nice that I got to be able to kind of give you guys a glimpse of, you know, future events and timelines. Again, that they're not set in stone. It could be sooner, it can be later. It just depends on where the world is at and if we keep falling backwards into the 3D, right? With the war and everything. And again, maybe I only watch stuff for educational purposes or investigative anything, or just I just want to get lost out of my reality for a minute because sometimes I'm so engulfed in law papers I get overwhelmed and I'm like, I need a break. I need to go watch like a 1980s movie and see what kind of secret messages were in them. So yeah, maybe if I write a book on the third question, we'll be able to talk about it. I don't know why the heavens are so hesitant on me talking about it. I thought it was quite fascinating, but maybe the consciousness isn't there yet. The Masons actually have a whole article on the number 47. Maybe I should pull that up and compare the third question to the 47th question of the Masons and how the source codes are changing from the 3D to the 5D. I don't know. You guys let me know. I mean, there's a lot of different things we could talk about. 333 on my clock. Okay, well, if everybody's done, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And thanks for coming again. It was exciting. Lots to think about.
I got a Benjamin Franklin.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you for
Thank
the wonderful
You're
call.
welcome.
you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here.
Love and
As my son
gratitude.
said,
Thanks,
I got a
Mary.
Benjamin Franklin.
Thank you. Thank you.